Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's a Monday, but the day after Monday. It's a Tuesday. I am going to be back with some stuff. I did say I would be coming back more regularly. So we're back in. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. Hopefully everyone can see the lovely things as well and the lovely setup. For those of you who don't know, hello, Data. Hi, Martin. I know you're in chat as well. For those of you who are watching, first of all, appreciate you. Second of all, set up in the new house, new setup. I've been unpacking and doing things out over the next few days. You'll see my general stuff in the background there. There's a big box for Game of Thrones throne that I won at NGT. I need to get that box sorted, among other things. Also, here's your tour because you can't see it in the camera. Wagwan says Belagroth. Look up there. There's your Greyjoys and a little bit of Lannisters on this shelf here. This shelf here, you can't see very well. That's the Targs and Neutrals. And the shelf that you can't quite see, but that's an entire shelf of just Free Folk. So we're all set up. We're ready to go. Internet's now in. That got installed this morning, so I can actually stream. I was going to do it yesterday, but things didn't work out the way I'd planned. So yeah, we're all set up. We can talk about Season 6. Some last things about the Invitational. And yeah, we'll get stuck in. So, Season 6, right? Some talk about it over on at the weekend at the Invitational. Last weekend, well, not last weekend, the weekend before. And then, there's been a lot of things going on. We've seen the stats website update today. I would give it a few days before you try and use it full on. There's a few bugs and other things with it. Not to say it doesn't work. It does work, but you might want to give it a few days before you fully try it out. Okie dokie then. First Season 6 game yesterday. Playing Starks. Data, go and jump onto the Discord. There's a guy saying that Starks are unplayable in Season 6. So go and offer some advice and guidance as a community help piece. I think that might be quite beneficial. All right. I'll just very quickly summarise on the Invitational. If you didn't watch my videos on the Invitational, I'd obviously recommend to go and watch them because I think they're amazing. That's a lie. I think they're really crap and hurriedly put together. So do check them out. Obviously, it's my perspective on what went on the weekend and what I saw. I did want to bring out these bad boys. So every attendee got a Baron of Dice. I've got a Stormcrow one. They're quite nice, actually. That's going to go in my bag of dice. Met Gamma and Jordan face-to-face, Hibiscus. Gamma from between two Weirwoods. Or Gordy. I always forget the name. Because I just call him Gamma. And I always will call him Gamma. And Jordan, because it's easier to say than Hibiscus. Jordan or Hibiscus from his stream, if you don't see them. Got a Canadian Goose. The Goose Zerka, which I'm going to paint up for them. That's going on my hobby list. Also, if you haven't seen the Reaver Captain sculpt, I've had the Reaver Captain sculpt since I went to the US. The Greyjoy Reaver Captain. That's one of the things that's coming out in game night kits. We've also seen the new alt sculpt for the Martell Spear Captain. You can find him here. Again, I appreciate that the image on this quality on this camera is not the best. Let's actually just. I think it's. Oh dear God! Here goes something. You know when they say, "Fuck it, we'll do it live." Yeah, there we go. Let's do that. It's a bit bigger for you. Again, I appreciate the quality on this is absolutely terrible. This is a webcam, not a professional monitored. All of that. But yeah, there's the new Spearman Captain sculpt, if you haven't seen it. So you can check that out if you like your Martells. Alrighty then. So, let's go through. I'm gonna be quite whistle stop. I don't think there's any need for me to go through and do any kind of detailing. I'm just gonna kind of go through and mention what we need to talk about, and go from there really. So, without much ado, I think we'll get started. Let's just go through the whole list. So I'm going to say whistle stop tour. I'm not going to spend too long on any individual thing. Point out kind of things I think are pretty strong, stuff that I'd expect to see lots of play, and some stuff I think is going to be worth picking up. So Lannisters first, as the first released faction. Strictly speaking, Lannisters are the first faction, Starks are the second. Third, everyone thinks is neutrals. It is not. Third is free folk, technically, if I remember rightly. Fourth is neutrals for some reason. Don't ask me why. But that's when you look at all the cards and all the stuff. Yeah, there you go. When you get used to Simon's numbering from War Council, the first number is the faction, and or the first two numbers anyway. Is it first two numbers? Second two numbers. I know what I mean. But yeah, you get used to it. So, Lannisters. 1 point Jamie. What unit do you want to run 1 point Jamie in, says Sophie. Martial training and stalwart. You could put this in your Castle Rock Honor Guard if you really want to make them 3 up morale. Yes, it's an 8 point unit now, but who cares because everything's got attachments. There are probably better attachments for your Castle Rock Honor Guard, to be brutally honest. But with Castle Rock Honor Guard in particular, this double downs on the ability, so you get your rerolls, you then give them vulnerable, and I mean, this is debatable how you want to make this work. So here's a community FAQ kind of question or ruling. I'd have to double check, but because this is before rolling attack die, you can choose to resolve martial training before you resolve Lannister oppression, I think. So if you resolve them in that order, Lannister oppression would always have 1 condition token, so you'd always be able to turn off abilities and give sundering or vicious sundering or whatever you wanted, because you've always got a vulnerable token with Jaime Lannister. That is something you can look to do if you particularly want to. Halbs like the rerolls, which is what Martin says. Yeah, 100% rerolls on set for charge is nice, especially with the vulnerable. The +2 morale, moving them to 4 morale, again, pretty nice. I'm not massively like, oh my god, that's amazing, because I just think that, like, you know, there are probably better options, but, like, yeah, it's fine. Champion of the Faith, I'll be brutally honest, I expect to see this picked up, and because it's a free one with the High Sparrow, you're gonna see him in High Sparrow lists. I think the new Warcry is pretty crap, let's be honest. I think new Warcry is pretty crap. I've not really seen much use of new Warcry. Even She-Bears were not using it that actively when She-Bears were super popular. And I don't expect you to see 2 of them. Rarely see 2 of them, realistically. Unless the Warrior Sons type spam becomes a thing again, and I don't think that is a thing. I think there's just too many good counters now. So with that in mind, Champion of the Faith probably just doesn't see much play. Outside of High Sparrow lists, where you'll always see him for that 3 point in High Sparrow, probably. Yeah. Put him with whatever unit you want. He's free. Who gives a shit? Aris Oakheart. I honestly think the improvement to Protection of the Crown is pretty nutty. With the no expending vulnerable tokens and defense dice rerolls with the Crown. It's proactive control of Crown. So first of all, you know, Joffrey NCU stonks, Baelish stonks. And I think that this was already a point which I flirted with including in lists. And I always thought maybe this instead of Bronn, but you know, maybe this instead of this, or it never made the lists. I think that's what's quite interesting. I very rarely played Aris Oakheart, but he always sat there on the sidelines of being something that I really was interested in picking up. Now I think he is a very obvious attachment to include. Yeah, That's actually the big problem that Sophie mentions in chat. You're not going to have an extra slot, and that is actually the biggest issue, is that you're not going to have enough units to include Arisokar. Yorbo says, do you think High Sparrow NCU will see any play with the free champ if you have an extra slot? I mean, you could include High Sparrow NCU and then run the free attachment, yeah. But again, like, why are you running the free attachment in those lists? Because there's probably better points. No, there's not better points. There's probably better attachment slots to use in Lannister that aren't the Champion of the Faith. That's the truth. You might be buying the Champion of the Faith for the slot to give you a point for a turncoat, which is a viable option, but like most of the time I just think that the 1 point attachment alternatives are better than the free one you get. So it all comes down to your attachment slots, really, and what you want to run in the slots to improve the unit performances. A 50% chance of getting 1 token is not that important, especially if it isn't proccing morale-based effect. I would not really want to use my attachment slot for that. If there's ways of doubling it down with High Sparrow or in the future with other things, then maybe, but like a 50-50 on getting a token, or even like a 60-40 on getting a token, just isn't that impressive. Jacob says, this is a very good rate, but I just don't think defensive attachments will be good. Yeah, so there is a problem with defensive attachments, and that is the way to switch abilities off. You know, we've seen Castle Rock, Honor Guard, Tywin, and this is just talking Lannister, right? Wolfpack in Free Folk. There are factions out there that have ability switch off, and while it's not super common, that stuff is generally speaking just oppressively good into some of these defensive abilities. The question then becomes is, can you run this stuff into the stuff that isn't ability switch off, and does it still work? Mother of Dragons doesn't give a toss about this. There are other factions that don't really care about Aris too much either. I really genuinely do think that there is space for Aris, but I think it can't be in both lists. It would be a 2-list format matchup. Where Aris is specifically performing in a role in one unit or one ability. This would be pretty goddamn oppressive into something like Greyjoys, and Greyjoys would really struggle when they've got a mass attacks based, where they're going to really struggle to get through something like 3 armor, and they're just going to try and kill with weight of dice. You can double down on that with something like Bolton Blackguard, which takes advantage of the Greyjoy, generally speaking, poor morale. And you can just make a unit that's just hard for them to kill. And Greyjoys typically are not investing in ranged competitiveness. Yes, they might have bowmen, but they're not talking ranged competitiveness. They're talking about ranged utility. So, yeah, I would say something like that might be pretty good. Because attachments are free, you can always just play an offensive attachment in Blackguard. I think that's better than any unit with this guy. Maybe you might be right. You honestly might be right, Jacob, but actually I genuinely think that the ability to hold a central point and being able to withstand firepower and not lose ranks is going to be quite important in this game mode, or game right now, because I think the game is going to become accidentally quite grindy outside of the movement game. I think melees are going to be quite grindy now, less bursty, because there's very few attachments that are doubling down on extra damage. Very few. Right. Yes, you can talk about more guaranteed damage, but they're raising your average output rather than raising your maximum outputs. That being said, we got Jaime Lannister Kingsguard. He's fine. I, again, though, am not looking at Jaime Lannister Kingsguard as being included in my list. I'll be honest with you, this bit about Cersei Lannister reducing him to 1 point just feels like a complete and utter pointless line of text. At the point of me including Jaime Lannister Kingsguard in my list, like, I can't even think of like why I'd want Jaime and Cersei, apart from like I'm doubling down on the hear me roar automatic stuff. But like, again, I don't know. I just don't see this. Fine, you by all means include Jaime, but I don't know why Jaime and Cersei is this combo that I care about at all. So, no. Adam Marbrand for 1 point. Yeah, just take him in your lists. This is just obviously very good. You know, obviously very good is not like me saying busted, but one of the most important things is response to range attacks, as we've seen previously. And Sentinel is the perfect tool with new Sentinel's a perfect tool for the game to counter range attacks, being able to get that free maneuver, move into a new position, and then charge on the next activation. It means that shooting something becomes a riskier option because you're opening up your opponent to further opportunities to do things. I'm not saying that it's oppressive, because it isn't, but Sentinel is a good way of catching unaware opponents out, people who are not as experienced, or just providing you with a tool that's very difficult to work around sometimes. So yeah, I accept Adam to see play because I think one pointer to Sentinel is good. The fact he counts as Jamie, I couldn't give a shit. We're not running Jamie attached commander anytime soon, which is the only thing that cares about that Jamie's vassal text. Again, Jamie commander goes unloved. He's just been mildly crap for a while, and he just doesn't do anything. Very non-proactive, very not even reactive, just very passive. Just doesn't really have large board impact. So yeah, I don't expect to see Jamie commander see a huge amount of play, and Adam Marbrand will. I think Adam might see more play than Jamie commander. Yeah. Okie dokie. Kevin Lannister Supremacy. That's not changed, but I think that this is going to be quite a useful ability. As we can kind of stretch towards, yes, losing abilities is more of a thing, or people are going to look to do that more often if they can. But Lannister Supremacy is a very good tool if your units are not dying, and you might find ways. Lannister could be very aggressive in those weaken token spams. They might be able to find ways in which they just simply are very hard to kill. It wouldn't surprise me if Lannister Supremacy spam becomes a bit of a thing in the early days of Lannister. Now, not on Kevin's unit or not on Tywin's unit per se, but it would not surprise me to see Guardsmen making a bit of a comeback, and Lannister Supremacy just having a bit more, push with kind of some of the options that are coming out. We always typically see this at the start of a patch. Supremacy kind of has a bit of a resurgence and it dies off towards the end of a patch, because people find ways through it with the movement and with the tools available. We'll see if that's true for this patch, but I think it probably will be in the early days of the patch. Might of the Throne, however, is an absolutely baller ability. I don't understand why anybody thinks this is bad. This is absolutely fucking bonkers. I think this is great. You get +1 attack die to melee attacks, and you counter rolling a 6 on all charge distance dice. Right? What I do hate about this is the way it's formatted. While your opponent does not control crowns, each time this unit attacks, it gains +1 dice attack die to melee attacks and counts as rolling a 6 for all charge distance dice. Well, I'm not attacking while getting the charge distance dice, so that formatting is just really weird. But auto 6 charges towards the top of a round, or where your opponent doesn't control Baelish and you're taking crowns early, crowns Baelish move, boom, Kevin now is at 11 inches away and he's going to smash you in the face. You also get the +1 dice, which is big. +1 dice is a way of increasing directly the amount of damage you do. That is huge. I think that Might of the Crown is a good ability. I think that equivalent abilities in Courtney, as we see later on, among other things, are going to be pretty good. It would not surprise me to see Kevin Lannister. I think gone are the days of the NCU board rush in the same way. We will still see it at competitive level. I still think there will be a bit of play. But one of the big revolutions for me in Season 5 was just make good plays. And sometimes good plays isn't taking the board, even though you want to buy into that rush. Making a very proactive, decisive play with an early charge for devastating damage, even if you're walking into swords, can sometimes actually be the most difficult thing your opponent has to deal with. Especially if you've got a range unit in range, because now your opponent has to think about blocking swords, where you actually just take a shot, taking bags to heal, but if they don't take bags, you'll heal after they swords, or going for the retreat option of horses, which might leave a swords open attack elsewhere. Like there's things you can do I really do think these kind of early decisive plays might be very powerful in Season 6. Okie dokie. Let's go see chat. So, Jane with the new ambush, maybe? Nah. Sorry, I meant Motley Armaments, but with Morale 7, no. Zorse, no. Zorse might see some more use in this meta. Maybe Data. If defensive abilities really ramp up in popularity, Zorse Riders will go up in popularity as well. Especially if there's very little proactive stuff to catch the Zorse Riders. Am I planning on doing a stats bug reports review tonight? No, Sophie. Although I definitely could. But hey, it's only just been released. It's going to happen, isn't it? So yeah. Yeah, cool. All right then. Let's continue through. So, Qyburn, he doesn't have requirements or anything. His experiment enhancements and violent reactions are now both innate. Becoming vulnerable after an attack, meh, sure. I mean, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. I don't know why you'd have that. This bit is the bit I don't really like. You can't expend weaken tokens on Qyburn's unit when it attacks. And it gains +1 to hit and vicious. Great. Cool. Fine. None of that interests me on anything that you could particularly put. Like that's just Lancer Base's debts. But with the additional thing that can't spend weakened tokens. It's not even like you can't be weakened. Like, that's really important. You can't be weakened. You can be weakened. You just can't spend it while attacking. Also, there's a whole debate, and I'm not even going to get into this right now, but if you put Qyburn inside Pyros, not saying that you would, but can you spend the weakened token on the ranged attack? Because there's no range symbol next to it. There's just something to really annoy people in the CFQQ, among other things. It is what it is. I don't really see anyone taking Qyburn. I genuinely can't see anyone taking this copy of Qyburn, except for Robert Strong, because you cannot field Robert Strong unless you take Qyburn or Tommen. Now, I'm not taking this version of Qyburn to unlock Robert Strong. I will take the 4-point NCU version. It's just better to unlock this. You're also already going to run out of attachment slots, probably faster than you run out of NCU slots. There's space in Lannister for a 4-point NCU, I think, at the moment. Take Qyburn. So, okie dokie. Robert Strong, Resilience and Unstoppable Wrath, 2 points, now free. Yeah, you're going to be taking this a lot in Lannisters, in my opinion. If you've not got the mountain in your list already through any other guys, then I just see this becoming the prominent way to include. I don't really see why you would ever not take this if you had the opportunity to. And that's not to say that you have to take it, but you might as well. I genuinely think you might as well take Robert Strong if you can. I think it's really good. Resilience is fantastic. It's the best way of solidly reducing damage output on nearly any attack. Makes your Lancer Supremacy type things better if you want to. Makes Horrific Visage type effects better because they're going to be better on the second attack. Yeah. Robert Strong, playable, definitely takeable. Hard to obviously include. New Gregor for 3 points. I'll be honest with you, this is crap for 3 points. Not being weakened on knights is powerful. But, when you got Lancer Base's debts on them for +1 to hit and vicious, and you or you were playing Gregor Clegane for the auto hits, this is fine, but just remind you that there are 3 1-point blood riders that all have that, not one 3-point model. Ferocious Assault Panicked is fine. Doesn't double down with Knights of Castle Rock though, unless they've got the vicious keyword. Does come with Intimidating Presence, and Intimidating Presence is obviously very good. The weird thing for me here is this is like turning your Knights of Castle Rock for 3 of your attachment points, like turning Knights of Castle Rock into mildly better Flayed Men. like it is good. I'm not going to say it's not like bad. It's not bad, but it just feels it's like a lot of points. You've now got an 11-point unit as well. And if you just lose all abilities, you just like sure can't be weakened, but that's about it. Like you've lost Lance, you've lost Ferocious Assault, you've lost Intimidating Presence, you've lost Sundering, your Style Supremacy. Everything else just gets lost, and you're an 11-point wagon. That is 25% of your 44-point list. You are incredibly expensive. You are the most expensive thing, most likely on the board. I do not think you will get that much value out of it. I don't think. Personal opinion. Can't see it happening. If Gregor was 2 points, I could see it happening more often. The 3-point cavalry attachment is outstandingly expensive, even with this kind of attachment meta. I really like the Clegane Brigands as well for healing. What do you call it? Fuel by Slaughter. I really, really like Clegane Brigands for Fuel by Slaughter. I don't know why you wouldn't invest in that instead. Gate Warden, superior number change. Superior numbers change is kind of nutty. This is actually a really good ability now. So if they've got the same or fewer ranks, you can re-roll all attack dice, and opponents cannot expend weaken tokens. That is an insane difference, right? Like if we go back to old Gate Warden, like this was terrible. This was absolutely terrible. It's like if you're already winning, win some more. This is if you're like just attacking, you just get benefits. Like I think the Gate Warden's great. Like, yeah. I think this is a good 1-point attachment now for the free healing as well with reinforcements. Leaning into that kind of crowns type effect is going to be. I quite like this for those red cloak type spam list things. I think I might see Gate Wardens in red cloaky type lists. I think it's cool. Genuinely think this is cool. Gate Warden, I like it. This is a 1-point attachment I could see seeing play, and I'm a little bit disappointed that this 1-point attachment is probably better than some of the character 1-point attachments. Like that's the sad thing, is this is probably better and more playable. Rampant says, if you're bringing Sparrow NCU, eating 3 points of your attachment points isn't terrible. I think since you're grabbing another free Mercure attachment anyway. Yeah, if you're bringing Sparrow NCU, bring up the Champion of the Faith and then Gregor. But like, again, you can do this. I'm not saying it's bad, but what's your commander? Is your commander going to be Tywin for the issue commands to make this do more charging? Which would be the obvious solution. Or are you running Kevin, whereby you're probably running Kevin in Castle Rock on a guard and then probably like a ranged unit, and like you've not really changed what the knights are doing. They're just mildly better at what they used to do anyway, and you're already really all in on this kind of I'm gonna have my cavalry kill you. Gate Warden Halberdiers, says Hexus. I do think that's quite nice. Again, you've got a small problem here in that you're asking people to set for charge. But yeah. So, Luggery put something in chat here. How many attachments exist now where you cannot expend weakened tokens anymore? Is weakened token even the best condition nowadays because so many units are now immune to it? There is actually, to some extent, an agreement here I have with you, Nick, in that there is more and more stuff ignoring weakened tokens or not allowing you to expend them. And that was rare. Like, if we go back a long time ago, there was one unit in the entire game that could not be weakened. And, well, actually, it's a lie. It could be weakened. It couldn't be spent. You couldn't spend weakened tokens on them. And that was Unsullied Swordmasters. For a long time, that was the only unit in the game that couldn't be weakened. Now there's quite a lot of, like... And it depends on the faction you're talking about. But there's a lot of abilities where it's like, can't spend a weaken, can't spend a weaken, can't weaken, we can't weaken, we can't spend the weaken. There's also more and more can't vulnerable. And a few that we've seen creep in Season 5, although no more in Season 6, was, no panic. Specifically... Night's Watch, and the Night's Watch card attaches you to Commander, to the Commander, sorry, where they can no longer be panicked. But that's about it, right? Panic and Vulnerable are less. Vulnerable is Donnel, this new ability, and now Rattleshirt, which is like permanent Donnel anyway. There's your Lannisters. There's nothing on here that's like, wow, that's amazing. I think this will see play. I expect Robert Strong to see plenty of play because this is like a good setup. It's fine. This will see play because it's a cavalry attachment and people will want cavalry attachments in their 4/3s. Not moving away. I expect the Gate Warden to see some play. Don't expect to see Qyburn. I think we'll see Kevin Lannister come back as well. We'll probably see this version of Jaime because people like him. We'll see champions. I doubt we'll see this version of Jaime much. So orders change your lowest dice. Who cares? Doesn't really make a difference how it works and what it provides. It's just about propelling a melee combat unit into melee without expending a charge action and taking a board on the tactic zone. Tempo and understanding that the unit can still then assault again or charge again, which is the valuable part. Change to Lannisport City Watch, with Domineering Pride receiving the update here. While engaged with enemies with same or fewer remaining ranks. This is good. This is finally a good ability, and means that Lannisport City Watch will never fail a panic test or a dragon, and that can be quite important in keeping them alive because the maximum a dragon can do is ranks plus D3. That means it takes 3 dragon attacks to kill Lannisport City Watch. Guaranteed 3 as a minimum. Or maximum. A minimum number of attacks, yeah. Because they'll do 6 on the first attack, then D3 plus 2, which is 5. And then that would leave you with 1 wound remaining. So if you're talking Lannister and you're talking anti-Mother of Dragons or anti-Targaryen, I would not be surprised to see Lannisport City Watch actually making an appearance in those lists. I do not expect them to make appearances early. This is going to be something where if giants and if dragons become commonplace, I think you'll see Lannisport City Watch start leaking into lists a little bit. So yeah, I do expect that a little bit. I would expect these to see a bit more play, especially in those kind of solo list spam type things. Starks, quick drink. They gave him outflank. They gave Rob outflank, finally. Welcome back, Ilya. Nice to see you. Rob, fine. Yeah, sure. He went from 5 points to 4 points to 4 points with a buff, and then now 4 points where they just completely removed his ability and changed to outflank. I'll be honest with you, I think this is very boring. I think this is... I was running 4 points where he had to take horses to replace. However, I get it. I understand why. Yeah, fine. Give him outflank. Wolf Swiftness, Influence, Bonkers. I think anything that gives plus movement or plus attack dice. Remember when Corrin gave both? Anything that gives plus movement I think is good. So Rob Stark, thumbs up from me. Very playable. Unlocks the direwolf for your list building. Yeah. Good. Fine NCU. Not going to take the place of Arya anytime soon in the infantry builds. Not going to take the place of like an Eddard effect in those kind of builds that people want to run. People like Sansa and people like the card recursion on Sansa. I personally just think the tempo loss is too big in gameplay I want to play with Starks. I think that tempo loss is too huge, so I don't like Sansa that much. But I know people like her. What I actually think is really important is I finally think that Cat might come out of Stark list as default, and I think far too many people have been just saying, "Oh, just put Cat in there," and like basically the only thing Cat did for years was remove weaken tokens. Like that has been it for donkey's years. She didn't really care about the max dice side stuff. Like I think it was just too much of like, oh, I'll just do it for this. And I just think it's been bad value for money for a long time. I've not been putting Cat in my lists for some time in Stark. It wouldn't surprise me if she makes less of an appearance. I'm not saying that Rob is the answer, but I do actually genuinely think Rob is good. So why would we not look at that? All right. Okie dokie then. So, let's have a little look at the attachments. We are talking Evening Doug. Umber Champion. Fine. This insight ability is still crap. Like, they've made it better by giving Furious Charge, like, actually decent, and Furious Charge is fine. Umber Champions are fine. But Insight's still crap. Like, I just don't like Insight as an ability. Very few people have. It also conflicts with other abilities that exist in Stark on this trigger. I don't know. I just don't think you're that interested in the Umber Champion. The Vulnerable is nice, but you already get charge bonuses in Stark quite often. Devastating Charge, among other things, when it's coming. But, like, yeah. There's also access to Vulnerable already in the likes of Roderick, taking swords, She-Bears if you want to go down that route, and other things. Like, I just don't think Umber Champions are, like, that interesting. Don't expect to see much play in a 40 list. Bran Hodor, they've just changed Bran Hodor a little bit more. They've given the retreat element of Hodor when you auto-roll the 6 for the retreat. They've given it no disengage or no pivot. And I don't think that's bad. Obviously, it's a buff. You don't get the weaken, so it's not the full disengage, and you don't get the abilities on the rest of Hodor, so you lose the +1 wound. I really think that this might be quite good and or abusable in certain scenarios with Stormcrow Dervs, because you can run in, do the 7 dice +1 auto wound with the intention to then Swift Strike Retreat out, no pivot at the end of the round, giving you a flank charge off swords with Assault Orders on the top of the next round, giving the triple token. I do think there's something maybe there that you could abuse, and you might have to double down with other abilities. There might be some other card play. You might want to set it up. I haven't thought about the whole implication yet, but my gut reaction is, can you just abuse that Hodor Auto 6 to bounce off a unit to get a really good position, even out of line of sight, on the flank of an infantry unit? Yeah, there's something there that I think might be very, very good. Did you lose sound? I don't think you lost sound. Hopefully you didn't lose sound. Evening, Carly. Evening, Paul. Objection, says Carly. It's probably Martin. Martin's just Martin's broken. So Carly says Stark Sworn Swords on fewer ranks than full Lover Number Champion. Yeah, I mean, sure. Like, when are your Stark Sworn Swords attacking on, like, fewer ranks than your opponent? Like, when are they attacking on 2 ranks where it matters? Where you have invested points in an attachment? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sure, Carly. It's just, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just think you can do better things than a number champion. Evening, Paul. Carly, getting all the benefits while at high size is very nice. Sure. Now they get a token on top of this. Sure. Yeah, I mean, on the charge, though, if you're down a rank already on the charge, like, what's going on? You've been hit by mass range attacks or something? I don't know. I just feel like there's, again, I think there's just something going wrong here. If your opponent's shooting your 5-point melee infantry unit, then your opponent's either your 5-point melee infantry unit's in the wrong place, or you know, there's a whole sequence of things there. I can't buy into it, Carly. Doesn't mean you're wrong. I just can't buy into that. Dan, nice to see you, Dan. Dan Gilbert. Nice to meet you the other day, by the way. I really enjoyed the weekend, Dan. Very pleasant. Anyway, Yorbo. Rob, +1 move and area token could be cool. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I very much agree. I see +1 move. I think movement. I think how can I abuse it? And I think, yes, area token's a way of doing that. Right, let's keep going. Brynden Tully now down at 1 point. The unyielding knight. Just reminder, guys, he gives affiliation House Tully. Just a reminder, guys, that still doesn't fucking matter at all on the only Tully commander where affiliation barely fucking matters. This actually annoys me a lot, and I understand why, but until we get another Tully commander, this ability literally does nothing. Like, it does absolutely nothing. And it's always bugged me that it does nothing. Because, like, it's like this alluding to, oh, we're gonna release some stuff. And it's like, just release the damn stuff then, please, for the love of God, please. Yeah, and this is the thing, Paul and Ilya is like, you know, we want house rules. If they released a House Tully and they give us a proper House Tully commander rather than Brynden's, like, one benefit from it, if we got Hosta Tully or something like that, like, I'd actually be all in on that. I'd be all in going down more on the affiliation of units route for Starks. I think that would be really cool. I think it'd be really interesting. It would really bring a lot of the house flavors into the game, which I think would be really beneficial, especially that we've just seen an attachment update where you're going to include more attachments. Going and have these affiliation type routes would be awesome. And it just doesn't exist at the moment, and it makes me sad. So yeah, go House Tully. Roughnick says, I hate the Tullys. Roughnick, the Tullys hate you. That may or may not be a good thing for you. I don't really know how that drives, how you drive with that, Roughnick. So yeah, cool. We'll see. Local breed house rules for every house now. Yes. Apart from attachments, more flavor from that side of it would be beneficial. There's a to-do. Add Tully synergy somewhere on a post-it at Seymour headquarters. Yeah, definitely. Where is Edmure? Roughnick, of course, they hate me. Have you seen this man? Edmure said. It was a pleasure to drink with you. Yeah, the best weekend. You're going through all the factions. Of course I am, Danny. You're not clearly seeing that we're going... God, Dan's clearly got back from work and is drinking himself if he hasn't realised we're going through all the Season 6 changes. Dauntless. Pass a morale test, heal a wound on Brynden. Sure. Iron Resolve. Making you better at panic tests, not morale checks. Sure. You can double down this, double dip into this with She-Bears and a local nearby Tully Cavalier, and you can be like, haha, I'm testing on morale 6, Weirwood, morale 5, pass a morale, heal 1 for Dauntless, heal 1 for Tully Cavalier, boom, 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 I'm being a bit of a dickhead. There are no other double down on morales in Stark Commanders. You used to do it with Dario a lot for Sellsword Bravado, with Dario Commander, but of course you can't do that anymore. So, can't do that anymore. You can't really double down on many effects where you're getting additional morale checks from any of these commanders. As a result, you're probably not going to be doing this that often. It's fine. It's not amazing. Will it see play? Probably. I was using Brynden Tully anyway and some meme lists I enjoyed running. But I don't foresee this being a commonplace addition in most lists in Stark. I think there are probably better things you can spend the points on. And not necessarily better, but more specific, kind of like you are looking for a specific result from your attachment. Whereas this is cool. It's nice. It's relatively stable, so it wouldn't surprise me over time this becomes a bit more popular because it's just a stable attachment. But I don't think it's going to be super popular, and I don't think it's going to be super great. I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, She-Bears would be the place initially, Carly. Of course, there could be other things as well, but just being able to double down on Warcry. Nice. Jojen Reed. This annoys me a little bit. I used to run 2-point Jojen Reed, and they've changed him. So, each time this unit attacks or is attacked, after rolling attack dice or defense dice, you may remove 1 order token from Jojen. If you do choose 1, this unit may reroll attack dice, or this unit may reroll defense dice. Interestingly, this is one of the only things in the entire game, I'm pretty sure, where you can remove an order token when this unit attacks and choose to re-roll any of your defense dice. Or, when you're being attacked, re-roll your attack dice. Doesn't do it. Functionally, that doesn't do anything. But you can actually have an ability that you can actively choose to make the wrong decision. Now, most people won't. But if you really wanted to troll yourself, you actually could. I will choose to re-roll my attack dice on this attack against me. So, no attack dice to reroll? Yep. Cool. Right. Defense dice. Yeah, cool. Fine. The important thing here is this defensively. This does bug me a little bit, because this is an ability that is not symmetrical. Active player, attack dice rerolls would happen before weakened. Defense dice rerolls would happen after vulnerable if you're passive or non-active. This is a much better defensive ability than it is an aggressive one. What unit am I thinking this in? I personally am thinking a defensive unit, preferably. You don't have any base Sentinel units in Starks, where base Sentinel, this would be good because you'd be able to use that reroll really well after the attack rerolls from weakened come in, because again, attacker order. So yeah, you can do that with adaptive style. It's true, Hexus. So yeah, no base Sentinel means that you're probably not going to be doing this proactively, which means the defensive version is better. And if the defensive version is better, I'm probably looking at doubling down. You could go Tully Sworn Shields if you wanted to. Kartak Spearman, probably not a terrible shout, because this unit really would become an absolute pain in the arse to move for 5 points. So if you're looking at kind of like a high activation Stark unit, Jojen in Kartak Spearman might just be a bit of a dick to kill. And sometimes that's all you want. So yeah, look at that potentially. Aggressively, technically could be used on range attacks, so you can use it on your bowman or on your Golden Company crossbowman, or Cranaman trackers if you really wanted to. Syrio Farrell might now see some play now that there's attachment changes, and we see changes to Syrio Farrell, which means that he will probably not see play. This is the weirdest attachment change in my book, because this was a really interesting attachment where, you know, got the agile, was harder to hit, cost a lot of points, was a pain in the ass to unlock, but it was like, this is interesting. I would actually potentially include this in a list if I had points to do so, but I simply just don't have the points. Nowadays, you've got the points, but I just don't think you care about this. Like, I just don't really care about giving a vulnerable token every time I lose a rank. Like, it's just not that good on a single unit. The reason it's good with Ghosts of High Heart is it gives +1 morale. It's an influence, so it can go anywhere on the board each round. And it gives a vulnerable and a weakened token. 1 point attachment that requires an unlock that goes in one unit, and it gives you a keyword that you've got in... I'm not going to say like overabundance, but like precision's not rare. Sorry, Syrio, you're probably just not seeing much play. Loyalist Captain, however, baller. You get the vulnerable on the charge, which, bearing in mind, your Umber Great Axe, your Umber Champion gives you, but you come with superior numbers, so you get your auto rerolls and you know weakened. Genuinely, I think this is better in your Stark Sworn Swords. You know, I know you're not getting the Vicious, but it now allows you to charge across bad terrain. It allows you to just absorb weakened tokens on these cheap units. Who cares? They'll probably never be able to actually spend them. And you can just start doing openers with these. And Stark Sworn Swords with a vulnerable token is nice. Good on Berserkers as well. You can't weaken the Berserkers when they're coming in. Yeah, anything like that, fine. I think it's playable. Ricard Karstark also saw the superior numbers change. I already like Ricard with Fueled by Slaughter. The superior number change no weaken is very good. Yeah, I already enjoyed playing Ricard. Even if he wasn't very good, I'm going to keep enjoying him. Ricard Karstark, the old Stark Fury for Cryptbo's Sundering and the Uncontrollable Rage. I just think there's better options in slot for this kind of thing. Not saying this is bad, but like Stark moved away from the auto wounding himself, and the Uncontrollable Rage is only good a little bit. I don't know. Not for me. Probably not interested. Not saying it's bad though. Certainly not bad. Just not particularly interesting. You go for a Great John like everyone is auto 6 charging kind of meme list, but I don't think it would be that good. Brendan Tully, mark target and outflank on a 1-point cavalry attachment. Yeah, this will see play. This will see play, I think, when Rob NCU is not on the board. You could actually afford to run Rob NCU and Brendan. You can give... Rob can choose to target Brendan's unit to give it outflank twice. Pointless, don't do that. However, you could actually then outflank 2 units if you particularly wanted to. That's generally speaking a bad move. You generally do not want to be doing that. There are reasons and game modes where I actually think a double outflank might be playable. However, I can't recommend it in good faith. I probably would never do it myself. And I know, put my money where my mouth is, I probably should do it to prove that I think it works. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think it works well enough to try it against a skilled player. So, sure. Meme list on what you want to do in 40 points, probably not. 6x4, 80-point epic game mode, because they made it 80 points on a 6x4, which is recommended for 60-point game. I could easily see double outflank being a thing in epic game modes, and it'd be a hilarious meme. So yeah, not for me. But Brendan Tully, yeah, playable, definitely playable. Use him in some off the cuff Stark lists. The problem is here, say outflank could come from Rob. Also, Winterfell Guardian for 1 point is going to be a very popular pickup in a lot of Stark Cav now. I can't imagine a situation where Brendan Tully is the pick that most people are going to pick for 1 point. I actually do think it's good. Like, I think this with Outriders might be quite valuable, but I just don't think this will be what people gravitate towards. So as a result, can't recommend it. Also, Mark Target is accessible in Stark. Vulnerable tokens already, as we've seen all over the Stark changes. Vulnerable tokens are already very accessible, so I just don't see this being overly picked up. Oh no, House Tully affiliation is missing on Brendan Tully Cav attachment. What an overlook. Yeah, who cares? Sad. That's the other sad point, isn't it? Who cares? But yeah, probably is a bad thing. Maeve Mormont, go down fighting and unyielding. Well, the funny thing is, Darksworn Swords got go down fighting, as we'll see in a minute. So this Maeve Mormont is going to have to be like Berserkers or I don't know. Who gives a shit? I just can't see myself playing this attachment. She's been donkey crap for years. And we finally saw an attachment update and she comes down in points and she's still probably donkey crap. I would just simply never really do this. I might be wrong. And you know what? I'll be so glad if I'm wrong and this becomes popular. I just can't believe it. I cannot believe that Maeve Mormont is going to see any play. Definitely not the worst attachment in the game data. There are some bad stuff. Yorbo says, don't things have unyielding as well? They used to. Berserkers used to have unyielding. They got changed to have the Berserkers Fervor instead. So they get +1 to the morale tests. They don't have unyielding. It feels like unyielding though, because they just don't fail. But hey, now everyone can fail if you just roll a double 1. More on that in a minute. Cranman Survivalist. Elusive Escape Pathfinder. Fine, playable, already liked it. For 1 point, just didn't wasn't cutting the mold, wasn't cutting the biscuit, as you say. Ignores attachment limits. Okay, love it. You've piqued my curiosity. And the first one is free inside a Howland list. Okie dokie, what the fuck is going on? Yes, please, thank you, ma'am. Crownman Survivalist is going to be very playable, especially in a Brotherhood Without Banners Beric meta, where people are going to be dropping stakes or countering stakes or just not doing that whole thing. Anyway, I just think the Crownman Survivalist is an obvious pickup. It's got obvious synergies with Stormcrow Dervishes as well, with Arya, with Howland in general. This is just an obviously movement-based, very powerful attachment now, and you're getting one for free. You're going to see this in Howland lists. You're going to see this outside of Howland lists. I think Crownman Survivalists are very good. It's interesting, my opinion on these changed a little bit. I thought these were decent when we saw the reveals, but actually at the scale that we saw the changes and the number of things that have changed, I actually think that this is moved from being a decent attachment to being pretty damn good, purely because ignoring those restrictions, and it ends up being something that's just always useful, basically in every game you play, especially with infantry style builds. Winterfell Champion, crit blow, and charged enemies become weakened. Who gives a shit if the enemy can't become weakened or they can't spend it anyway? Fine. First attachment is free with Eddard. Fine. You know what bugs me? It bugs me that these are limited. It bugs me that these are limited because I just can't see a world in which you would ever reach the limit. You might run 2. Crannogman differently. Crannogman, I could see you getting to the limit if you really wanted to. But, Winterfell Champions, I just genuinely can't see anyone running, more than 1. Ever. And usually the more than 1 is usually going to be a free one with Eddard. You're very rarely going to run 2 of these, I think. In my opinion. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think there are better options in slot as well. More interesting things you do. Maybe see one of. Yeah, Data Link. All my start lists so far have 2 times Survivalist. Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Does not surprise me. The synergy with Arya is ridiculous. Right, Sustained Assault changed. This actually got worse, I think. You only get the rerolls if you are starting engaged rather than getting the rerolls if you commander. So this used to be a commander can charge across bog, get rerolls card. Now it's just highest dice and rerolls if you start engaged, which is fine. That plays into the grind style more. And then vulnerable if it's a Mormont unit. In this case of Mage Mormonts, fine. I don't care. It's fine. Sustained Assault's still not a great card. It's fine. I think honestly, just move on with your life and look at something else. Sustained Assault's fine. Just whatever. Assault Order's changing, as we know, to low stat die. Who cares? It genuinely doesn't matter. You shouldn't have been looking to damage its position. Position will create damage for you. Position and tempo will create damage, which is what we talk about in a lot of factions. Damage attacks are just big ways of throwing lots of dice and big numbers, and those strategies only work if it's consistent. And if it's not consistent, then actually what they do is they meet a good player and they just fumble, which is where Starks had gone wrong in the last seasons. Is that good players just good Starks really struggled in things like the Invitational. People aren't playing that game movement based into tactical and surgical strikes. Very rare are there big kind of I'm just gonna smack you in the front and kill you, because if you're killing something from basically full health in the front, that's probably a problem. That's probably a game problem if you're doing it in one attack regularly. And yeah, Lance Cav don't care about the change, so who cares? Berserker Tactics, I mean, in some ways I'm glad that this has changed. It was oppressive as fuck. Great John got played because of this card almost exclusively. It's now pretty meh, not gonna lie to you guys. It's a bit shit, but it's very equivalent to something like Overwhelming Assault from Free Folk. It's just costing you wounds rather than additional units. I think this is fine. It feels bad for a commander card, but this is fine. It's not a crap card. It just doesn't feel as good as it was. Yeah. Cool. Units. Go down fighting on Starks on Swords. Fine. Sure. I'm all for it. Auto wounds on losing ranks, though, just makes certain things more, like, just feel bad. Solos feeling a lot worse. Low wound solos feeling a lot worse. So, yeah. Giants not feeling overly happy. That's fine. Stark Outriders changed, but not really, because it's the ambush change. The ambush change is pretty fucking nutty. Not gonna lie. Panicked, vulnerable, and weakened. The rainbow triple. Vomiting rainbows on people every time you attack them in the flank or rear is pretty fucking good. I expect ambush-related enemy things to be played. Ambush was already good. Like, this is what people don't understand. Things with ambush weren't bad. Things with ambush weren't played because those factions couldn't get ambush to work. Not because ambush was bad. When you got ambush to work, it was good. Now when you get ambush to work, it's gonna be probably pretty bonkers. It's not fixed the problem. It's doubled down on the performance. I think ambush is very good. Like, I think ambush is very good now as an ability. I think Vanguard are laughing their socks off, as you'll see later on. I think Stormcrow Dervishes are feeling pretty happy because they get more synergy with infantry-type movement mechanics. Happy days. Start Bowman. Now, if you get shot by a Start Bowman and any of your blokes die, if anybody takes a wound, you are becoming weakened. Fine, sure. This just hurts things that already could be weakened more. And does nothing for half the game, which now, as it turns out, doesn't matter if they're weakened or not. Like, fine, like, I guess they're better in the range trades now. Like, they are better in the range trades. Fine. They still die. Like, they still haven't been given 5-up armor. Fine. I think they're playable. Like, I'm not going to say Start Bowman are bad. They're very playable. They've already been playable for a while, though. They just don't really... They just don't perform. They just don't get the value out that people want. Survivalist breaking limits is stupid. I actually agree. Well, I don't agree, Jordan. I don't think the survivalist breaking limits is stupid. I think that attachments, breaking attachment limits, is a good thing if you want attachments to be used. My problem is they didn't add it onto enough stuff across a lot of factions. In certain factions, it's game breaking because you have things like regroup and reform, and you can get combos, which is what Free Folk have been doing for years, I might add. You get combos which you otherwise can't do, and that is both interesting gameplay wise. It's also interesting list building wise, understanding how you're going to generate these combos and what those combos might be. And I think it's a very interesting mechanic and kind of thing to have in the game. I do agree that some attachments just ignoring limits and other ones just not. And it also just seems to be kind of random. Like, why does the Cragman Survivalist ignore limits? Like, why that one? Why not, like, the Loyalist Captain? Like, well, why doesn't he ignore... Like, what's the logic behind this? Maybe it's a lore one, but I don't really see it. Maybe it's a gameplay-wise one, but, like, movement's the most powerful thing, so why would you make movement-type things ignore limits? Or, like, yeah, I don't know, just... I don't know. I get it, Jordan. Don't worry. Data, I think Stark should lean heavily into higher acts of movement shenanigans. I mean, generally speaking, I agree. My two current lists are 9-act Rob and 8-act Ned, and both feel good. Yeah. Yeah, I do think there'll be less less of the 7 activation double tile cav stuff. But I fully expect to see play still, and yeah, of course I do. Right, Free Folk. How do I feel about Free Folks? Trojan Steer got a buff with the Furious Charge. Yeah, fine, cool, whatever. I'm not all in on the Chosen Steer type things. I just think there's better. I think there's better options. I know Daniel likes it, and I know Lux is obviously a decent player, and I do think there's a time and a place for the Chosen Steer. It just isn't what I'm looking at initially. It will become a tech piece later on if it's in the list, I think, for Free Folk. Rattle Shirt 2 point, Fueled by Slaughter, Intimidate Presence. Sure, yep, cool, I'm in. I already used to like this when it had Spread Fear. It now doesn't have Spread Fear. It now has Fueled by Slaughter. I like Fueled by Slaughter. I'll be playing Rattle Shirt 2 point attachment, but it does make me sad that it isn't just the old version. I would have played the old version and the new version. I just like this setup, both versions of it, but yeah, whatever. I'm playing it anyway. Rattle Shirt Load of Bones, Trophy Hunter. This is just fucking nuts, right? This is just like... I cannot stress enough how absolutely fucking stupid this ability is. I understand that it's an order, it's on an attachment, it can be cancelled, there's other things going on. But, like, this is just bonkers. Like, bonkers. When a friendly combat unit activates, which, by the way, is a completely unused trigger inside Free Folk. Pretty much. There might be one trigger on it. Is there even one? Let me think. Weeper doesn't have any. Harmer doesn't have any. Tormund doesn't have any. Rattleshirt doesn't have any. Mance doesn't have any. Steer doesn't have any. Base deck doesn't have any. Great Walrus? No. Battle Endurance and on attack dice and on defense dice. Oh, he's got a new card. Right, Great Walrus. This is on activation. It doesn't matter, you can't fucking run it with this anyway. No, start a turn. Is the new one. Defense dice. Yeah. This is a completely unused trigger in Free Folk, which means you're never competing with anything for this trigger to happen. Which means that, guess what? This is going to happen, I don't know, 6 times during the game? Or more? Or more? So, again, something that we have to appreciate. Oh, hold the line, says Jacob. Of course. I forgot hold the line. The other thing I just remind you of how bonkers this actually is. Like, how bonkers this actually is. This is shareable with coordination tactics. So, you start of turn, if you have co-ord in hand, you co-ord, share this to another unit, activate any fucking unit, it doesn't matter, and use the shared copy. Next round, if you have, or next turn, if you have coordination tactics again, you share it again and activate any fucking unit, it doesn't matter, and you can go and get a second Rattleshirt card, and then you activate Rattleshirt, and you can, or any other unit, doesn't fucking matter, and you use his order for the 3rd time that round, if you have double co-ord, of course. And you can just have 3 Rattleshirt commander cards in your hand by the end of round 1. You're thinning your deck, and you're getting out the cards you really want to use. And then you can put them on units as soon as the combat breaks out. You can do that mid-game, when you can share Intimidating Presence. Or other abilities around. Like this is such a motherfucking stupid timing for Free Folk that they can really abuse just how much they get out of the deck. Yeah, like, playing his cards now is obscenely easy, and you can always have them. I really do think that I'm going to throw as far as saying this is a level of consistency in the game that people have genuinely never seen before. If Free Folk are broken, then it would not surprise me that Rattleshirt is the problem, because this is just an obscene level of consistency, more consistent than arguably Mance's Long Plan. Bearing in mind, Long Plan Endless Horde was like ridiculously consistent. This is more so. There's Rattleshirt Commander. Yeah, I think he's good. I'll go through tactics cards in a bit, but yeah, I think he's decent. Weeper changing to a hit from a wound. I mean, the funny thing is in Free Folk that feels like a wound anyway. Sure, whatever. I don't actually care. Like, it never bothered me that it was a wound. Like, it never bothered me it cost me a wound to do it. But basically, it's the same as Reek now, except Reek only dies on a 6, and then you lose the ability, whereas you don't lose the ability if you fail your armor save with the Weeper. Sure, like, it is better. Like, it's better. It was already fine. I don't really understand why this had to be changed. Not complaining. It got made better. Just don't really know why. Fine. He wasn't not being played because this was a wound. Like, that's not why the Weeper wasn't being played. The Commander version, fine. Now is just basically the same, just comes with extra weaken resolve. Fine. We'll come on to his tactic guards changes. Fine. Walrus Clan Chieftain, this saddens me a little bit. I actually really like the 2-point version of Walrus Clan Chieftain. 2 points to have resilience and iron resolve was pretty good. In Free Folk, you would have used that, and I did use that. Reminder that 2-point Walrus Clan Chieftain won US Nationals when I was over there. It did very well at Germany. In Germany, when some people used it in their lists, and yeah, I'm a big fan of Walrus Clan Chieftain as it was. This change, Harden's just a bit crap on Free Folk. It just isn't that good, because if you're down to that many wounds left, you're probably just going to die anyway. But I do think it needed a change, because there is the worry where you could have just had 4 Raiders with Walrus Clan Chieftains, which would have cost you 16 points and your 4 attachment points. And you just have 4 resilient units with Iron Resolve countering out insignificant. That would have been just so hard for people to get through that the rest of your list doesn't really fucking make a blind bit of fucking difference what it is. Like that's just a pain in the ass to get through. So I don't hate it. What I miss though is, bear in mind my Walrus Clan Chieftain, I believe mine was Walrus Clan Chieftain in Trappers, because the resilience plus the -1 on the Iron Resolve made Trappers really hard to kill. Even though they're hilarious, because it's like, I'm armor 6 and morale 8. And I go, cool, but resilience, so armor 6 might as well be armor 4. Even better. And morale 8, sure, it's now a 7 on the panic test with the -1 wound, so actually taking less damage anyway. Who gives a shit what? Morale 9 for all I care. So yeah, like, it was hilarious. I just don't think Walrus Clan Chieftain's going to see play in those kind of things anymore. I think you'll see it in Thens. I think Thens don't dislike a Walrus Clan. I don't think you'll see it in Spearwives. I can't really foresee this happening in Cave Dwellers. Like, maybe because Hardened allows you to kind of double down into that, but like, just you're only blocking 2 hits. Like, who cares? Like, Cave Dwellers are going to die from the other 6 hits your opponent's got, so who cares? Yeah, maybe Thens, but I think there's better attachments, so you're not going to see this played. Not really. Maybe in Raiders every now and then, but I don't see it. Sorry, guys. It was the change to the Grizzly example, wasn't it? I meant the Commander now has this on top of the other 2 abilities, and their abilities have changed. Yeah, it's whatever. I don't care enough about the Weeper to talk about him. Bloody Trophies is now better. They all come with the, if you play 1, you get to play them all. Just a reminder, it's after a friendly unit completes a melee attack if the defender suffered any wounds. Now, Free Folk are one of the only factions in the game where, genuinely, and I mean this, attacking like base 5-point units, it is very common that free folk units just don't do any wounds because rolling to hit is hard if you're weak and you're 4+. And then, you know, your armor's 4 and you've only got 2 hits against you. And yeah, saving both of those isn't actually unlikely. You know, not statistically not going to happen. So, yeah, that trigger seems like it's stupidly easy. In Free Folk, it's probably the only faction in the game where I'd say I might have some struggle reaching it sometimes. But it is pretty much, out as attack triggers go, it's pretty fucking easy. Like, it's up there on the easy scale. Not as easy as getting the cards into your hand, because all you have to do is activate, which is bonkers, might I add. But this is pretty up. This is up there on the easy scale. You know, if that's a 10 out of 10 easy, this is like a 8 out of 10 pretty easy. You get panicked, then you attach it to a friendly infantry or cavalry. So you don't even have to be an infantry or cavalry that does the wounds. Okay, that's pretty bonkers. You then attach it. The first one, Panicked, Bloody Trophies, is pretty similar to what it used to be. It's fine. Bloody Trophies always seems like it should be better, but it doesn't work on things that charge you, and it only works if they start engaged, and then they go to an action. So it only really works in these kind of like prolonged engagements, and Free Folk generally aren't very good in those. So Bloody Trophies is fine. Weapon Trophies, +1 to hit, fine. Like, it's not bad. It is good. Doubling down on things like Bears or your Boneless Chosen, but everything else obviously going to 3+ to hit is fine. You're not that interested in Weapon Trophies. Not saying it's bad. It's just not that interesting for you. Raises your average damage a little bit. Armor Trophies was already pretty good because you got +1 to defense dice rolls, and now you can't spend vulnerable tokens on you as well. That wording to me, in my opinion, is pretty freaking bonkeros. That is Donal NCU on a stick all the time on that unit. That is very good. Like, I've always told people this, but strictly speaking, one of the tankiest units in the game was always Ranger Vanguard with Donal token and shield that guards the realm of men in hand. You are armor 4. Your opponent with Sundering charges you. Let's say Lance Cav on old 10 dice. 10 dice on 3s. After rerolls, let's call it 9 hits. You maybe miss 1. On average from those 9 hits, armor 4. Sundering. 5s. Yeah, but Donal, 4 and no vulnerable. I'm going to be blocking 4 to 5 of those, taking like 4.5 damage on average. Then I reroll those. I'm going to save another half of those, so maybe take 2 wounds, 2 to 3 wounds on my Ranger Vanguard before Panic. That's a full, like, fully charged up Lance Cav charge because it can't spend that vulnerable. You take 2 wounds. Yes, sure, you don't get the defense dice rerolls, so it's not that oppressive. But the Armor Trophies is good. Like, it's just obviously very good. I think this is a very, very good card. Of the 3, the best card he has. Makes playing Thens and Bear Riders just pretty bonkers in Rattleshirt now. Yeah, and it's piss easy to get out. Like, this is going to come out almost guaranteed at the start of the game. Like, as soon as Free Folk do an attack, this card's coming out, like, straight away. Because they can't not have it in hand. Like, that's how crazy this is. Pavel says, I'm sorry for being late. Can we start over? No, we haven't got to Baratheon anyway, so who gives a shit? Soren, does the bottom paragraph mean I play the first card, then now get to play a second card? Yes, Soren. Yes. That's exactly what it means. Is you do 1 wound to the enemy when you attack with your Raiders or your Shadow Cat or your Wolf Pack. You do 1 wound. You get to play Weapon Trophies. And then, because you attached a Rattleshirt's Commander Tactics card, I can now play another Rattleshirt Commander Tactics card from my hand, ignoring the normal trigger, and attach it to another infantry or cavalry unit in range. So you just go, my Shadow Cat charges into the flank of your Cutthroats and does 1 wound, and then Armor Trophies, Weapon Trophies on my Bears, done. Your turn. How people don't see that as just being bonkers stupid. The, the consistency of that is just off the chains nuts. Like, I do not understand how that I'm lost for words because that is so unbelievably consistent. And once they're on, you can't remove them. And by the way, if the unit dies, Rattleshirt can get them from the discard pile. So you're just gonna have to do it all over again. Like, yeah, I can't. Sorry, guys. It's not that these buffs are good, but it's basically the fact that you just unbelievably consistent. Like, it's always going to be the same. And that scares me because that's, generally speaking, what is very good about good things is things that are incredibly consistent and always perform exactly how you expect them to perform. Mother of Dragons was like it. You know, Free Folk Mance was like it. Awful, because the way stats were kind of graded, was like it. All of those factions always performed exactly the same way because they always just said, I'm going to do this thing, and it will consistently happen. The question is this strong enough? It's consistent, but is it strong enough to win games? That is a different matter entirely. I think that it is, but it is incredibly consistent. And consistency is all that matters. Rattleshirt has better pillage mechanics than Greyjoys. Not quite, but pretty much. Rampant, if I have 2 cards out, armor trophies and blood trophies, and I weapon trophies, can I then play my second copy of all 3 at once since each of those effects have separate names? No. So you play the card, and you'll notice it says once per turn. Yeah, the bottom half is like once per turn on all of them. So you do a wound, you play armor, you can then trigger a second armor, or a weapons, or a bloody. You play a second Rattleshirt card on that first card being played. And they go on different units. They're independent card play for all intents and purposes. But the moment you want to chain off the second card being played, you can't anymore. It doesn't matter what you've got out on the field or in hand. It's simply just, I've got 2 Rattleshirt cards. I've got 5 Rattleshirt cards in hand. I charge, I play 1. That allows me to play a second one, but I cannot go any further. You stop at 2. The next turn, I charge another unit and play the other 2. And I've got 1 left over that I play later on. Can also play John NCU to get Coronation Tactics out of the discard. Yep, and also out of the deck if you want to just start with it in round. As I said, consistency. You just everything is there to say, I can always do this in exactly this way at the start of every game. And it is the start of it's once per turn, not once per round. Right, but the no stacking effect rules isn't for identical wording, it's for effects with the same name. Yes, you are right, technically, Rampant. This is going to probably have to be errated or FAQ'd, technically. I believe the bottom text, it's got nothing to do with the card names like Bloody Trophy, Weapon Trophy, Armor Trophy, because even they would stack because they're not stacked triggers in that way. It's the bottom part of the text is the same, and that would only trigger once per turn. Because it says once per turn after attaching a Rattleshirt's commander card, which you've already done. It's not Armor Trophies giving you that ability. It's once per turn after attaching a Rattleshirt's commander card. That once per turn has already passed by the time the second one resolves. So it isn't once per turn anymore. I understand what you're going for, and I really do understand the point you're trying to make. But the card name doesn't matter because the effect once per turn has already happened once. At least that's the way it will probably be ruled. So yeah, otherwise it's academic of what the name are. You will play Armor Trophies, then play Weapon Trophies and Bloody Trophies on the first attack, and then the second attack you'll play Armor Trophies, Weapon Trophies, Bloody Trophies. Because it doesn't matter if they're already in play either. That's irrelevant. So yeah. Bloody Beheadings. You can't put the same card on the... Well, you can put the same card on the same unit if you want to as well. So double Armor Trophies, but it doesn't give you +2 defense dice. They obviously don't stack. That should go without saying. So you want to spread them out anyway. Bloody Beheadings. After a friendly unit completes a melee attack, if this attack destroyed an enemy rank, each enemy in long range becomes panicked. Cool. If they're already panicked, they suffer 1 panic test. Brill. If this attack destroyed the enemy instead, each enemy in long range becomes panicked, and they suffer 1 panic test. There is a really weird thing here, in that, and we'll come to it with Boltons, I don't know how you resolve this card. It's going to have to be CFAQ'd, because I don't know how you resolve the card. And actually, how you resolve it does matter. Is this card good in Free Folk? I think it's fine. In Weeper Commander, I think this is fine. You've got a bit of Intim to double down on it, but no Spread Fears anymore, so you can't do a load of bouncing Bloody Beheading stuff. I think it's great. This card has the potential to be absolutely devastating against certain armies. But like in Free Folk, you don't double down on any of those panic tests that much. They're just panic tests, or they're just panic tokens. And in a Weeper list, you've probably already got panic tokens on them, so it's not a big deal. And apart from that, I'm just not convinced. I don't think Free Folk are going to be playing this card thinking this is the absolute bee's knees, this is Busto, or this is broken. That being said, I do think this is good, because this is a panic test out of sequence on units that have maybe controlled tokens, so they've already activated. Control a token that they were otherwise going to be safe with, and now you can panic token and then panic test that token off them, dropping tokens in things like Feast for Crows and in Dance with Dragons. So this could be quite powerful in certain game modes, but base panic checks unmodified when the game is like sitting at like 5 morale. Sure, with a panic token it's better, but like who cares that much? Like, it's going to happen. You'll have to take it. You'll have to lump it. But yeah, I just don't think it's that obscene in Free Folk. It's good. I'm not going to say Bloody Beheadings is a bad card. It certainly isn't. But it's not like, oh my god, break the bank. And yeah, Jacob's right. Weeper Commander has 3 quite good cards. Yeah, they're not obscene. They're not amazing. They're not particularly consistent. But they're decent cards. I think Weeper is a fine commander. It's almost just like Free Folk doesn't work for him, more so than he is bad. You know, you could probably take Weeper's, might put Weeper in like Lannister, or Weeper in probably like Stannis, or like loads of other factions out there as well, and people will be like, yeah, it's fine. And I think that's where he sits in Free Folk, is that yeah, he's fine. I just don't see him being picked up over the other stuff necessarily. We'll see. Walrus Strength got changed, and this is quite interesting. So start a friendly turn, you can attach it, a bit like Battle Endurance, and when it activates, it restores a wound, and if you're within short range of Great Walrus, you remove a condition token. This is the first card in Free Folk since the 2021 update. Since the 2021 update, this is the first thing in Free Folk that removes condition tokens. This will be playable, except I think the Walrus just is not that good. Frozen Shore is just not that interesting. I think people will play the Walrus, but I just think the other options are more interesting to play, and people prefer playing them. So I don't think Walrus is going to see much play. He already didn't. I can't see this changing much. Not from my perspective. War Mammoths. Oh my god, I want to run a War Mammoth. I'm not, but I want to. In case you've not seen this, I'm just going to remind you. There's my painted War Mammoth from Ye Cats Miniatures, back when Grant first did this for videos. Early release. Lovely, lovely model. I have legitimately, I think, used this on the board once or twice. I think it is usable. I think it is fine. I just genuinely haven't had, like, even in a 2-list format, I've had Mammoths in my 2-list format, and I get to the board, and I'm like, my opponent has this, this, and this. I'm not going to play my Mammoths. There was an event, and Jacob, if you remember, in Durham, when you came up, it was Hilo, me, and Carlo got a triple. Like, we all had the same winning record at the end of the event. I think I beat you in a free folk mirror in that one. I actually accidentally had a mammoth. I didn't change my lists. I put some lists in and I wanted to change them, and I missed the list lock deadline, meaning I had to run the lists I hadn't worked out, and I had a mammoth in that list, which is what I wanted to remove. And legitimately, that was the last time I competitively ran mammoths. And that must have been 2022, 2021, maybe 21, 22. Must have been 22. It was after lockdown. Genuinely the last time I ran a mammoth competitively on the board. Online, may have done one after that. And there was a game against like a new player where I put them on, but I don't really count that. Because it's a learning game, if anything else. So yeah. Yes, the event, Jacob, where my game ended on round 2. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. That was the first game where I was like, we need chess clocks. And I would sit here and gladly say to anybody I should have been chess clocked there. But it wasn't even me who was slow. That was the crazy thing. It was both players just playing incredibly slowly. There was a whole movement check, which I'm not even joking, took about 20. I think the whole movement check took 20 minutes. That whole decision took Hilo 20 minutes. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, they get rerolls on charges, and they get +1 dice in melee. Right, Chiefs of the Giants. Yeah, I just don't care. I just don't think. None of this mattered as to why mammoths weren't being played. I'm just not interested. Maybe they're fine. Maybe they are fine. Maybe they're all right in mag lists. It's just not for me. Chief of the Giants. Mag gets reduced by 1 point for every attachment point you don't use. Pretty nuts. Mag for 1 point if you don't use any attachment points. Don't do it. It's not really worth it. Like, I had a little look at list building, and it's a bit unfortunate, really. But there's actually very little that you get with this outside of a few extra things. So you can run this if you want, and this is what people like immediately. The perhaps less competitive players, people who like a bit more fluff, people are immediately gravitating towards this. And that's fine, but it's not. No, not that one. That one. This just isn't that good. It's fine. It's just not that good. I don't think the double mammoth is worth it. The double giants. I've just put savages in there. They could be throwers for all I care. I don't mind. For the purposes of this discussion, it doesn't matter what these two 7-point giants are. They're just 7-point units. This is fine. I'm not that impressed. You could drop Mance Bard down to like a 4-pointer. Just put that in there for now. It will be 4-point Mance, won't it? And you could take a mammoth out and replace it with another giant to take you up to 40 there. But again, like, I'm just not that interested in this list. Like, it's fine, but it's just a 8 activation. I have a bunch of monsteries. Oh, look, they die because you ran the right list into me. There is the whole debate of whether or not you go for that version. So going back to the 5-point Mance, picking up Varamir in the Wolf Pack to get to your 40 instead of one. So running 1 mammoth. You could also drop the Wolf Pack and run a third giant, giving the point to the mammoth. Running the cat. You could also take the 1 point out of Mance to put into the Millmouth, running triple giants that way. Yeah, so 4 giants, so Mag and 3 Varamir Wolfpack, and then yeah, it's up to you how you want to go around it. There's stuff there. I'm actually a really big fan of keeping these in, going for this triple giant, and then pick up a unit of raiders with Baroque, which raises Mag's points to 2, by the way. I'm aware that this is wrong, but so I'll have to do on here. So There we go. Page quickly. So giant, Varamir, Wolfpack, Raiders, Brock, Boar, Val, Mance. I mean, I'll just put Dalla in there for now. Who cares? So you're running something like that. I'm not unafraid of doing this. This has some weird problems on the builder at the moment, so ignore that. So Mag would actually cost 2 because you spent 1 point in attachments here with Baroque. So 2 and 7 and 7 is 16. 3 and 3 is 22. Raiders is 20. Is 4 more, so that's 26. Is that right? Have I done the calculation? So 2, 16, and 6, 22, and 4, 26. That's right. 26. And then you've got 13 points there, running you at 39 out of 40. And you've got 3-point discount here on Mag and a 1 point in the Baroque here. It's a bit of an odd points number. I know it looks strange, but I actually think that this is a very playable list. It gives you another monster for Baroque, and it gives you an objective sitter. Potentially 2 objective sitters. Locabri, why not Spear Throwers? Because this giant appears first in the list, and I'm just clicking the first giant I see. You can change them both to Spear Throwers for all I care. It doesn't matter. You could also upgrade one of these to 1/1 if you really wanted to as well. But I actually genuinely think that 2 savages or a thrower and a savage might be better than a thrower and 1/1. So yeah, something like that I do think is actually quite playable. What's interesting is this is actually an illegal list. So yeah. So definitely recommend that with Mag the Mighty, going for 2-point Mag. The reason being, it's a dumb thing, but he's only 1 point otherwise, and your list is only 40 points big if you don't run attachments, which means that you lose on draws. Now, I know that sounds like a really obvious thing to say, but actually it does matter, because if your opponent knows that, they can play very defensively in a very, like, you can play aggressively defensively in the sense of, like, I'm just going to position with Cav and Cav related stuff, knowing that if I pick things off, it becomes harder for you to then win, and you need to win the game by killing my units or getting points, because I can position aggressively like this, and I can maintain a point parity, VP point parity, while knowing that if that continues, I win. And as the free folk giant player, you have to break the parity to win the game. And that actually gets very hard if your opponent knows what to do and knows that that's how they can play the game. I'm not talking about games where the people just sit on the back line and don't attack each other, but it's being able to aggressively position so that it's very hard to make the punch. But then you can't effectively progress through because it's so hard to make the punch that when you do make it, you end up like hemorrhaging like Varamir or the Wolfpack or something like that, which lowers your points on board, and an activation which puts you further down the hole. So you have to commit quite heavily, believe it or not, in these big aggressive turns as the free folk player. And it's very hard to do effectively against good players. So yeah, anyway, stuff like that. Don't know what you want to try. Honestly, let's have some think. Have a play around. Neutrals. I would review neutrals, but they're not a faction. Well, they are more of a faction now because they're going to only take neutrals. Fortune Seeker, motivated by coin change. Good change. I think this is actually a good one. I don't really give a shit if things can't attack off bags or whatever. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me that much. Less board attacks, fine, but it doesn't really matter if you really care about it. You'll just take Baelish. Yeah, fine, cool, whatever. Slow the game down a bit. Cool. Not bothered. I think this is a cool ability. Restoring wounds and giving bags control, and it makes things like sellsword negotiations just a bit of a better card for Dario. Yeah, sure, cool. Dario got changed, motivated by coin as well. Dario 1 point gets Dauntless. Dario 1 point was already playable with Reckless Strikes on and off meta kind of tech list builds. I don't know why they gave him Dauntless. Sure. I can't see this making more play in neutrals, while at the same time, like, you're just not going to play it anywhere else. Fine. Brienne had a slight improvement to Knightly Vow. Cool. I genuinely don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit about this. Your opponent doesn't control swords, you get +1 to hit. Like, it just doesn't matter enough. Not in my opinion. Bronn got the motivate by choice change. I think so. Bronn is very playable still, like very, because this buff, controlling bags and just getting this defensive buff is just good. People underrate how good loyalty through coin is. I think it's fine. These basically didn't see a change apart from coming down in points. Fine. Whatever. I just don't care. Like, I just don't care. It just doesn't matter. Like, Lycene Bowman, these are now playable because Domineering Pride is better. Domineering Pride coming down to equal ranks means that, hey, guess what? If you're running neutrals and you're having to fight dragons and giants a lot, guess what you're going to play? You're going to play Lycene Bosuns. Do I think that matters, or do I think it's that good? Probably not. But, like, that's playable. Like, it is genuinely playable. Interrogate, whatever. Whatever. Don't care about that. I think this is very playable. Depending on how the meta goes. And we knew Mother of Dragons was good. Sadistic, it also, for the little it's worth, it also means you can survive a cav charge from things like Screamers, because they only do 7 dice. And if you're infantry, that'll do 7 wounds, maybe. And that means you've got 5 wounds left, which puts you at 2 ranks, which means you pass your Domineering Pride test. Woo! You can't get one shot by cavalry very easily. But, you know, fine, because the second one will charge you in a second and they'll kill you. So, full rerolls with double pillage tokens. Mwah. Slaughter people, Paul. Okie dokie then. Sadistic Games. Start of enemy turn. Your opponent chooses one. 2 units become panicked. 2 become weakened. This is a solution to the card that never used to do anything. Now it will always do something. Like, this is a good change because they fixed the problem with it. Sure. Do you know why I hate this card? the biggest reason I hate this card is I'll go, sure, I'd like you to target 2 of my units to make them weakened. And your opponent goes, oh, you're playing non-weakenable units. I can't weaken anything. Well, that did nothing. I just... Whatever. I'm not going to spend a long time talking about it. It's fine. Like, the change is a good change. It's just... We've just made weakened tokens, like, less playable, generally speaking. Sure. Not for everyone, of course. Hurts some people more than it hurts others. Flayed men get extra dice on the last rank. Sure, whatever. I don't care. Fine. Cool. It's not... There's not enough time in the world for me to talk about this being that important. It's fine. It's good. Cool. I just don't give enough of a shit. Fine. This, however, I do. That up there, boys and girls. Let's zoom in on that number right there. Not on that face. Just that number right there. Now, for those of you at home who can't read numbers, that is the number 5. For those of you who don't do well numbers with good, yes, I said that completely the wrong way. I was deliberate. If you do not well numbers good with them, then you may not know that 5 is indeed larger than 4. That is, I said it. 4 is smaller than 5. 5 is bigger than 4. Blackguard now have 5 movement. The biggest weakness Blackguard had was the fact they have 4 movement. They now have 5 movement. as a player of the game who already kind of liked Blackguards and thought they were decent defensive units at 6, I like Blackguards now because they're a decent defensive unit at 6 and they have 5 movement, which makes them better at being defensive. Can you see the thumb? Should I position it over here? Over here? Over here? Can I give a thumbs up big enough? There you go, look. Thumbs up. Yeah, I'm memeing a lot here, guys. Can you tell I've already gone insane? Well happy. Playable, great, love it. Let's get on with life. This is going to be an absolute nightmare for people to deal with, I think, if they haven't got the right tools. Here's a spoiler, guys, because Bolton's are quite a long way down the list. Bolton players are very happy, looks to chat. Let's go! 5 movement Blackguard, baby, says Dan Gilbert. Hopefully I said that in the right way as well. Ramza. Oh my, something he cares about. 5 move. To be fair, Ramza, I've cared about a lot of other things so far in this patch review. There are a lot of other things I've cared about, but this genuinely this, like, oh my god, I fucking love it. Like, I like Blackguard. I've been enjoying Blackguard in neutral lists, in other lists as well, and I think that this just makes me happy. Lannister Guardsman going to 5 move might scare the shit out of me. Rose Knights going to 5 would scare the shit out of me. Who else? That's basically it, right? I mean, technically Warden's going to 5, but if Wardens go to 5, then, you know, we might as well put wheels on all the tin cans in the world. I don't care enough about Wardens going to 5. But Rose Knights and these guys going to 5 is big changes. We haven't seen Rose Knights see the change, but Blackguard have. That's all that matters. Yeah. It's funny. Datalink says, right now, have Hodor in them. Always proc 1 vicious attack with the auto wounds. Can actually move on to a point and summer comes and chews your face off if you try to move them off. It's really... The reason I find it funny that you mention that is I am going to do a little bit of digging. Now, I'm going to do this, but do it with the understanding that I can't just sit here quietly while I do this. So I'll talk you through the process. As you guys know, I showed on stream that I did scrapes of the data in stats for the Invitational to provide everyone with little cards. That may or not happen in the future. It does take a lot of data up, and it would be something I need to check with the person who owns the site, which is Carlo. I would need to check to make sure if he wants that to happen, why it's happening, and what it's going to cost, etc., etc. So that's something a conversation I will have with him if the need arises. It's probably only going to be for specific events, like we saw with the Invitational. There may be, you know, justification to do that if there's a future Invitational or anything like that. But again, it is something that can be done. We are using the data to show what's possible if the site gets the funding. Bit of a plug for the site, obviously, in funding it to make sure that all goes ahead, because we're going to try and show with the data that we've already got what that can then look like and what you can do with that data should the funding go there and should the site really kind of boost its popularity. That being said, what I can actually do is I can find, if I jump into here, I want to find a list. So you can't see this, but I will show you what I'm doing. I've gone into my data and I'm filtering for Stark lists because somewhere in here I have a game and it's exactly what you talk about there, data. It was Hodor in Blackguard with Summer in the flanks. And I already did exactly all of this in previous seasons. This is not new to me. So the fact that this is now viable and more viable than it used to be when I've already done it makes me damn happy. It makes me happy that things I've already done are now more viable. And I think that is a good thing. I think that, things that are proven to be okay, so that's 10,404. Things that are proven to be okay, being more competitive is a positive thing, and that's 2027. So let's jump into my data, Control F, 1,404, 2027, bang, one, I don't remember now. But yeah, the overall, I'm really happy with the Blackguard change. I'm going to be using them a lot more in this kind of manner. That being said, we'll have to see how it all kind of comes out in the wash, I think. Cool. I can't find the game now. Oh, I'm sure I'll find it eventually. Cool. Yeah. Happy days. Happy days. Cool. All right. Let's move on. I've gotten carried away there. Very, very much carried away. Stormcrow Mercs, motivate with coin change. Cool. Stormcrow Dervishes, motivate with coin change. Cool. Ambush, super cool. These guys are, these are, again, already played. I enjoyed Stormcrow Dervishes. People forget they went to 5 morale, and ever since they went to 5 morale, I thought they were decent. I think this is really good now. Like, this is really quite good combined with Ambush. Like, Stormcrow Dervishes are going to see more play than they did, definitely. I think Stormcrow Mercs are not going to see as much play, even though I actually think they're better. Stormcrow Mercs are going to see the problem of why would you take a 5-point unit that reduce your attachment costs in most factions when you already got more than enough attachment points to spend. I can't foresee Stormcrow Mercs being that popular outside of a few factions who might want to spam them, because they're going to deliberately go over attachment limits costs anyway. That's from my perspective. I don't see Stormcrow Mercs seeing more play. Remember, they already got played a lot. I think there's better points to spend your neutral allowance on. But I do agree that they are better. Yeah, Rob Commander Dervishes and the Crying Survivalist. Yep, perfect example of what's possible. Night's Watch. Can I just say the first thing to mention about Night's Watch? No deck change. Like, yeah, sure, Assault Orders, but like no overall deck change. They're happy with the deck. I think Night's Watch players are a little bit sad about that. The deck is okay. It's not great. Like, it probably needs just a bit of TLC, cleaning up a few things here or there, making it a bit more rounded. That being said, we'll see. Yoren comes down from 6 to 5. Fine. Like, Yoren was playable in some areas. For those of you who don't know, Yoren was the least played NCU prior to the Invitational. That is actually, strictly speaking, a little bit of a lie. When we did the quiz, Yoren was the least played NCU in faction. Strictly speaking, during the quiz, after the quiz finished, we checked, because we were debating over Yoren and NC Night's Watch Craster being less played, and Night's Watch Craster actually, by the time we checked on that Saturday, was less played than Yoren. But Yoren was one of the least played NCUs in the game on stats prior to the Invitational, and I kind of know why. I don't think he was complete trash. I just think he was too slow, didn't really work that effectively. And the games where he did work, you probably just didn't need him. Yeah. Cool. Gone down to 5 points. I'm going to be playing Yoren. In fact, I am playing Yoren in Night's Watch List in an online event. I'm going to be playing Yoren NCU. I want to see how it works. I'm going to do some stuff, have some fun. Yeah, I think Yoren's playable. Very playable. So yeah. Okie dokie. Next up, Benjamin Stark, 1 point. The only reason this will not see more players because Cold Hands exists. I think this is very good. Sentinel and New Ambush for 1 point is bonkers. I expect Benjamin Stark 1 point attachment to see list play unless Cold Hands is in the list elsewhere or Benjamin is in the list elsewhere. The only reason you're not running this as an attachment is because he appears elsewhere. I think this is really good. Hopefully Rams has sat there being like, oh, something I care about. And like you realise that I actually think there's a lot of good changes in this patch. Because there are a lot of good changes. Samuel Tarley, battle plan and bookkeeping for 1 point. Very playable. I expect to see some play. Getting rid of some of the worst Night's Watch cards to pick up better cards, especially with the bookkeeping as well. Cycle that deck real quick. I do expect Sam to see play to go and fish for those early cards like we see with Gregor and what we saw with Assault Orders previously. Okie dokie. Edison Tollett, sorry, I still don't like this. I still think this is a bit shitty. It just doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Really sorry, but I just don't think he matters that much. Ugh. Yeah. Well, it's not entirely a lie. He is better now because he can stack tokens, and then if he heals back, the effect's still in play, right? It is better than he used to be. I just don't think this is what you want to spend your points on necessarily. But it doesn't mean it's trash. This might actually randomly start seeing playing like veterans or something, or Shadow Tower Spearmen with like Amon builds and conscript builds, but like I can't see the build where this is where you want to use it. And until I see the build and how I think it might want to work, I like how it's what its win con is. Until I see its win con, I don't think I can justify Edison. But I did talk about quite badly about Edison Tollett at the Invitational. I might be wrong. I'm willing to accept I might be wrong with Edison. He might end up seeing play and be quite decent. But as it stands, I can't see the win con of the build he's supposed to be in. Dennis Mallister gets Nightly Vow upgrade. I just don't really care about it. It's fine. Like it's good. It's a good upgrade. It makes Nightly Vow better. I just like it's an improvement. It just doesn't matter that much in my opinion. Like I'll just leave it at that. Like doesn't really matter. Assault Orders change, fine, whatever. Cotter Pike was already not. I don't really think he cares about this change too much. It was always being able to combo multiple attacks, which you can still do with Pike Aggression. So yeah, it's obviously a bit of a nerf, but like it's to all of the Assault Orders. I just don't know if it matters that much with Cotter Pike because it's the triggers you wanted, and as I say, being propelled into melee. Ranger Vanguard get the ambush treatment. Yeah, I mean, I think Ranger Vanguard are very good. I think Ranger Vanguard are so good that I'm running Night's Watch in a tournament because I think this is pretty damn fucking good. Ranger Vanguard, thumbs up from me. Baratheons, how far are we through? Halfway, Jesus Christ. Divine Sacrifices. This is probably pretty good. It's worse than it used to be in some regards. This is probably very good now. You don't get both tokens. You only get one. But you do get +1 to hit. You just have to take a wound for it. I think this is very playable. Like it's almost like reroll vulnerables with martial training, except that you've already got rerolls if you're charging. So you're not double downing. And if you've got three up to hit and you are going to 4 up to hit, sorry, and going down to 3, that's arguably better. And there's ways to stack that with Ours is the Fury to get an additional +1 to hit. You can really push it further. I do think those are, the Ray Priestess is playable and decent. Oh hey, what day is it? Says Tim. It's a Tuesday. I know I'm doing the update on the Tuesday. She's insane in my opinion, says Nick. Hitting on 2s makes Weekend a lot worse and Kingsmen have a good chance to 1-hit units. Yeah, except the fact that I don't actually think you want to run this in Kingsmen because I think there are better options in Kingsmen. That being said, I probably could see it happening. Okie dokie. My wife's just tried to call me, so I'm just making sure I text her back at work, which is why I'm doing this. Cool. All right. So, Andrew Estamont. I mean, True Conviction's better. He's still dog shit, isn't he? Oh, Jesus. I mean, I'm not even going to review this, guys. You already know what I think about Insight. And yes, True Conviction got made better, but, like, I just... Right. Axel Florent. I think that's incredibly playable. That's incredibly playable. With I see this is the thing. Do I think that is better than the Red Priestess in Kingsmen? And I actually think that it might be, because you're getting Vicious and Intim, which is actually increasing your damage output more than giving +1 to hit and a token. Right? Axel and Sentinels, Ramza. Maybe. I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe. 4+ to hit though just means you're more likely to gonna get those. Maybe. I have to think about it. Very playable though. Like, very playable. You know, Vicious Sundering, the only thing you wouldn't have is precision. Sentinels winning big. Yeah, I mean, well, Sentinels just been made better anyway. And Sentinels at 5 points were already good. I actually think there's a bit of a low key. I think Sentinels were probably fine in Season 5. It's just that you didn't run them because there was no point in running them. Right? It's not that Sentinels were bad in Season 5. It's that you didn't run that many 5-point units in Season 5, in Baratheon specifically. So why would it be Sentinels? Because you're just not doing that. I don't actually think Sentinels are much better than they were. Really don't. I still don't think Sentinels are that good, but I do think they were better than people gave credit for in Season 5. Personally. Davos Supply Aid and True Conviction now is going to just be... This is just like in Lightbringers every game. I don't understand why you wouldn't just put this in Lightbringers every goddamn game. We already saw this in Lightbringers in every goddamn game in like Season 3 and Season 4. It's gone back to this just being... Every single time this is in Lightbringers and you stand aside. Like, Lightbringers are already decent. You pick up True Conviction. You already didn't often double down with them on Bronn. Getting your rerolls. The best 6-point range unit in the game, in my opinion, is probably this one. Devon Seaworth, less impressed by Devon. I don't really know why. If you've got Stannis and you get him for free, you would include him, but like you're probably running a bit of a shitters list where you've got a lot of activations and they're low cost. I can't see Devon making the cut in most of your Baratheon lists because I don't think you want free attachments in your Stannis lists because you already have attachment points you can't spend. So you're probably not going to bother too much with Devon. Not saying he's bad. He isn't bad at all. I think he's completely playable. I might even put him in Archers because I think the True Conviction with Archers is worth it. And being able to then charge your Archers in if you need to tie something down quickly before it escapes genuinely might be a play. But again, I cannot sit here and tell you that I think this is going to see a lot of play. If it is because it's free, not even in Baratheon do I think it's overly over the top. Courtney has Might of the Throne. As I said with Kevin, I think this is good. This 2-point attachment, Courtney Penrose, in Renly side, I think is now extremely playable. If I was running Renly side Baratheon, I would be running Courtney. He also gets reduced to 1 point, remember? I would be running Courtney for 1 point in Renly side Baratheon, or 2 points if it's Renly side Baratheon non-Courtney. I am running Courtney Baratheon probably every single time. Loras Tyrell, fine. Like I think this is not very good value for 1 point, unfortunately. Probably not going to see play. Thornwatch Sentinel, however, this is pretty nutso value for 1 point. I think this is very good. Furious Charge, you take or leave. Dauntless Pathfinder is just decent in Baratheon. Having Furious Charge on top for the free vulnerable, fine, yeah, cool. Take that for 1 point. That's a lot for 1 point. Loras lost precision when they reduced his cost. Jesus Christ, I forgot he even had it because I forgot they added it on. But Jesus, this is just not good for 1 point. Like, Loras Tyrell is now less useful than Greyjoy Carl. You never thought I'd say that, right? Yeah, this guy's nuts, so I expect to see some Thornwatch Sentinels in play. Pikeman Captain, new leadership follower, +1 morale check when in long range of the commander's unit. I think that might be low-key alright. I don't think it's overly powerful. I think it's fine. I think this might be low-key actually quite a nice little performer in Baratheon, but I don't think it's flashy, so I don't think people will take it. I don't know. Not sure. Bryn Farring, however, yeah, this is the actual thing you want to run potentially in your archers, with the protection of the crown being very good and the new true conviction. Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt. If you're running a second archer unit, it's going to probably be Bryn Farring. Decent attachment, fully playable. Guyard Morrigan. This, I just don't think this is good. Like, this is crazy because, like, these were 2 point attachments that weren't playable because attachments weren't particularly good, and 2 point attachments were typically never worth the value. But they've reduced them in cost and then made their abilities worse. I genuinely think this is just worse than this. Like, Thornwatch Sentinel is just better than Guyard Morrigan, and he has one of the same abilities. You just get Furious Charge on Pathfinder instead of Counter-Strike. Without -1s, Counter-Strike's just not that useful. You talk about weaken spam, but weakens generally become worse. Like, I'm just not sold on Guyard. Sorry, guys. Robar Royce, Furious Charge and Reckless Strikes. Sure, he's like a mildly better Dario. Ironically, Dario now has Dauntless, which probably synergizes better with the likes of Rose Knights than something like Robar Royce. That being said, definitely playable. Probably not what I would do, but, you know, playable, definitely. So what has changed for Andrew? The actual one where it matters the most, because Andrew was already crap. And the sustained assault change we saw from Maeve as well, fine. Like, just don't think this is very good. Still not a great card. It's fine now if you start in those engagements, but it's still not amazing. Togs! Illyrio! Illyrio getting 2 tokens, and then you get any choice of 1 condition rather than just being a weakened. This is just a straight up buff. I don't really know why they did that. Like, I don't really know why Targaryens are now getting more and more ways of placing different condition tokens everywhere all the time. Like, I don't know why they changed Illyrio. It wasn't because it's the 2 tokens thing that is the problem with Illyrio. It's not what he did. Like, they've made him better, but he's still not great because you've got Miri. And Miri's just generally speaking better. And the times where you do want Illyrio in your list, it's probably not the condition token you give a shit about. The healing. So for me, like, it's just whatever. You know, I'm just not. Yeah, he's better, but like I just don't think it matters. Jorah Mormont, new ambush. Yeah, okay, sure, great. Talk about that till the cars come home. It's really good. Dario obviously got the Dauntless change as well. Dario Commander obviously saw the chain changes as well. And Barristan Selmy now gets the improved Nightly Vow. Cool, whatever. I'm not going to spend a long time talking about these guys. You already know what these changes are. They've all come down to 1 point. And they have all stayed exactly the same when they used to cost more points. Right? I have a lot to say about this because I've been running Targ a little bit, and I already thought they were playable. I thought Kaholo was not very playable because Battle Scars doesn't synergize very well with Cavalry, right? So Kaholo Perhaps not. I probably pronounced his name wrong. Quotho was difficult because you often didn't have Vicious in your cavalry, so it was hard to justify. You didn't want to put Inflamed Men because of the double Intimidating Presence stack. Again, hard to justify. Not that it was bad, it just wasn't that good. Recaro, we saw him in Veterans plenty. Hago, I ran him in Screamers. The bit I don't understand, I can't show you anymore. The bit I don't understand, and I honestly cannot tell you for the life of me tell you. It was. I'm pretty sure it was that bad boy. It might have not been, but I can't. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while. Was it that got taken out? And that was in there. There we go. That was the old 40-point list I used to run. And I used to think this is very playable. And one of the things I used to say is what you need to do, if you want to make this list probably better, is remove a Harakar and Hago and put in another Screamer unit. And I said that this is potentially a better list. What's mental to me is that this list is now completely playable. It is better than it used to be. Let's go and load it up. Now, I will add, not played it a huge amount. I've only played this list 10 times, which is probably the most people have played most lists. This list, just drop that for a second. Let's go Hago, let's go Quotho, and we'll dump that out and we'll go for that one with Recaro. That is probably perfectly playable. This genuinely is perfectly playable. It's a direct improvement over a list I already thought is very good. Baffles me. Honestly baffles me how they think that this is okay. I think this is really good. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if you see something like this run in your local areas. Similar-ish to this, you know. I think this is really good. You could even genuinely swap out Jorah here if you really wanted to and run this as a Drogo version. And this with Drogo might just be very, very commonly picked up. If you really cared about it, you could also drop Varys for Dany. But, like, yeah. Data says, Targs used to have the worst token game of any faction. Now they have one of the best. Yep. And Kurt says, Targs scare me. Yes. And I think it's actually fair to say that Targs are scary. Right? There are 4 Targs in the top 8 of the Invitational. You look down here, it's not oppressive, but they have the highest win rate at the event across all of the games. Not overly high, but they do have the highest win rate, and they also played the most games. That's the key, is they were played the most and they have the highest win rate. This is sad. Played a lot, but bad win rate. Lannister, people were either combined prepared for or just didn't really perform. This, pretty damn good. You know? Not oppressive, not a problem, not an issue for the game. Don't think I'm saying, like, oh my god, Targs are unbalanced. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is Targs were already good as a faction. There's a reason that good players that we saw, you know, good players gravitating towards them. Larks picking up Targaryen where he doesn't often do it. Sophie picking up Targaryen, doesn't necessarily always play Targs. Data playing Targs over other factions, knowing that he would enjoy Targs. And, you know, I'm not saying they're broken, really not. But I do think it's interesting that people did gravitate towards Targs. and they did perform well at the event. So yeah, it is what it is. Do think, yeah, Steel Shanks was in the top. 4 games and 3 wins. There you go. I wouldn't put. The problem is these play rates are so low that it's come down to individual performance. So yeah. Yes, Data says, although something to note, Mod is their best commander by a decent margin. Yeah, agreed. 100% Mod is the best commander that they had. And she took stealth nerf since she struggles to use any attachment points. Yeah, she does. I don't think it matters enough. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong and it does matter. But I actually think that unless we're bringing in those kind of solutions to deal with dragons effectively, which not necessarily all of them are. That being said, there are tools I believe that exist now. But until we can prove it, then I'm still not certain. But I do agree with you. That Mod might not be as strong. Brazen Beast Captains. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Umber Champions. Umber Champions are not great in my opinion. And I don't know why Targs are getting Umber Champions to play. Why are they recruiting Stark Umber Champions? This doesn't bother me in like a. It does bother me. Actually, it does bother me because they're both 1 point. If they're both 1 point of value in that, like, yeah, sure, they're both 1 point if you consider both of them 1 point attachments with both abilities. It bothers me that they're the same. Like, they're just exactly the same. The theme and the feel just feels off. Like, sure. Dauntless Embolden, fine. I can't see people running Master them that often. I don't think the slots exist. Miri, who cares? Because you're probably never going to play her as this. You're going to... she is better. Like, she doesn't do wounds anymore. But I think she also got some tenacity, which I don't think she used to have. I think you're just going to run the NCU, though, because the NCU is really good. So, yeah. Master Attachment got 1 for Emboldened. Yeah, it should be 2 point ability or high cost unit ability. Yeah. The thing is, I just don't think it matters in the lists that you're going to run it in. You're running Barristan Selmy, which already has Emboldened, which makes this kind of pointless. Or you're running it in a list which is mainly infantry, so like Scar has. And I think there's probably better infantry attachments you can pick up. That being said, maybe I'm wrong. Sustained Assault Orders, so only changes we saw there. Both ironically removing Sudden Retreat, which I think is the best card in this Targ deck. Stormcrow Mercs, Underv changes, seen them before. Pit Fighters are now down to 5 points. I still don't think they're very good. They just don't synergize with what Targ's wanting to do in these infantry style matches and games. Sorry. Not convinced. Mickey, do you think we'll see more Miri attachment when a list in high? No, because if the game continues as we know, there's a little bit of text on Miri NCU that people forget, which is you can bring back attachments. Does everyone forget that? Everyone genuinely forget that Miri Mazda has this whole thing of target a friendly combat unit, attach a previously destroyed friendly non-commander attachment to it, replacing the model as usual, ignoring attachment restrictions. That is going to be very good in a game or in a meta where you have lots of attachments. You can Miri Mazda Rakaro into your Screamers, and then Quotho dies, and you can Miri Mazda Quotho into Hago Screamers. Like, you're always going to get value out of these lists. I think it's bonkers. I do not think people realise just how good this kind of combo is going to be, and Miri enables it even further. And Miri's going to be good in an attachment-heavy game. Really do believe that. Cool. That's Targs. Starks. Greyjoys. Balon Greyjoy going up to 6 points. I hate this change. I think this is such a... I hate this change because, like, it's the opposite of the Yoren problem. Yoren was too expensive, but he was kind of played a little bit, and maybe he's more playable at 5. We'll see. This is just a 1 point tax. Like, I'm sorry, but this is just a 1 point tax on Greyjoy players now. They are not running Balon at 6. Like, I cannot foresee a world in which you are just not still going to pick up Balon at 6 points. And I know that some, people talk about like Adepticon and he won without Balon, and sure, like I could talk about that for some time, but I'm not going to. He's just 1 point more expensive than he used to be. He's still going to get played. His appearance rate will drop because he's more expensive, and people won't pick him because he's more expensive. That being said, I don't expect him to have changed in terms of like, if anything's changing, it's the win rate of the faction because of other changes, not Balon. Like, Balon's still going to get played at basically all the time. Yeah. And yeah, not even attacks, because the attachments you used to play in the list just became free. Yeah, genuinely. Like, I just... This might as well say Balon went unchanged. Like, because it basically did. Whatever. Drown Prophet, resilience for 1 point. Yeah, fine. Cool, whatever. You can only have up to 2 of them. They're limited, so you can't spam them. Yeah, fine. I think this is good. I actually think this is perfectly good for 1 point. I expect to see some Drown Prophets hitting the table. Jacob says, I think having one list at 9 at without Balon would be interesting. Yeah, but you could have one list at 9 at with Balon. Right? Because you've got 4... You've got... 9 activation list is 4 flex. And if you've got 4 flex, you can spend 2 of them on Balon and 2 of them on, I don't know, two 5-point units or 2 6-point unit. 6-point unit. Sure, you don't get 7-point unit, but Balon, Victarion at 9 with Victarion in his crew, and then a bunch of 4-point shitters. Potentially. Yeah. One trap or one drown, then could do that if you wanted. Anyway. Eric Ironmaker, slight change here. This was to divide the spoils, right? Yeah, I think it was. I think it used to be short range, divide the spoils, and they made it long. I think that's right. Yeah. I think divide the spoils used to be short range, and now it's long. I think that's the change. Oh, is it you move... You target at long range, and then at long range of that unit. It's they've changed the divide the spoils wording a little bit, though. That's the change. Strange relics and poison gifts for 1 point on Euron. I think this is probably pretty good now. This is just again, we talk about consistency. This is just a consistent way of starting with pillage tokens, and I don't think you care about these triple tokens on certain units. So who gives a shit? Unit's going to die anyway. The doubled the pillage tokens might just be very good to get you started off in the early game. It's also long range of that unit, right? So I divide spoils with them. That unit can then move it one long range of them. So this divide the spoils has like a longer than 24-inch range, because I can use it here to make that unit divide the spoils, and it's within long range of that unit that can spoil, so they can send the pillage token here. So I use divide here, and I daisy chain it that way. So it's actually a massive range now, which way more usable. Yeah. During Newt, not really changed apart from motivated by coin change. Yeah, fine. I think Newt was already pretty good. Yeah. It's fine. Theon, I think Theon's really good. And he got the ambush change. And we already saw Theon Commander doing well. Need I remind people that Theon Commander, and specifically Theon Attachment in this Vargo, it's a Theon Attachment in this one, wasn't it? Is this one? No, was it this one? Oh, it wasn't. Oh, no. I swear there was a Theon Attachment somewhere. Anyway, Theon Attachment is a thing. I think it's really good. I think this is really good. I think Theon Command is really cool. How does Poison Gifts work with Outflank? I suppose you can dodge the triple tokens if you deploy them at the start of round 3. Yeah, technically, Ilya, you could deploy the unit at the top of round 3, and you've dodged the timing to have to trigger poison gifts. So you deploy it without the tokens because this never triggers, and because this never triggers, you deploy it without these tokens, but it still gets the pillage tokens because it still deploys with them, which is the trigger for poison gifts. I think you can dodge these if you bring this in round 3. Shouldn't probably do that. But yeah, you can in theory dodge the tokens. Leon's here. Theon might also be with Stark Exposure because everyone has Sentinel. Yeah. Stark Exposure, which otherwise known as Winter is coming. Yeah, choose the order. Well, technically you can choose the order, but this isn't what's really important to remember. At the start of the round, you have Outflank. At the start of the round, you do not have poison gifts on the table to trigger it, to then resolve it. So you don't actually choose the resolve order. You only resolve Outflank because poison gifts never triggers because it's not on the board. So it's actually slightly different. It's not about choosing resolve order. It can't trigger. Slightly different. At least that's how I would read it. Asher for Sentinel Gang Up. Yeah, this is going to see play. 100% this is going to see play. Makoro, Insight Supply Aid. Less bothered by Insight, but Supply Aid might be decent in the Vic lists just to give Vic more fuel for the fire. And he only costs 1 point in the Vic list as well. I'd see some Makoro stuff. However, Vic really like Makoro NCU, and I think that that's probably the right play. We'll see. We'll see what Mikkel and Leon come up with, but I would expect to see Makoro NCU still, which means you're probably not going to see as much Makoro attachment. Assault Orders and Sustained Assault, both Victarion cards getting nerfed. Nerf Victarion, clearly. Well, one of them's a nerf, one of them's a buff. Bowman getting the Divide the Spoils change. Baptide Chosen getting the Divide the Spoils change. Iron Victory Crew getting the Domineering Pride change. I don't think they needed this change, of all things. It's only the Vic attachment where you get this. Oh, Master of the Iron Victory. Interesting. People who don't remember, when Greyjoys got released, they got Captain of the Iron Victory and Master of the Iron Victory mixed up names. So you got replacement cards for your Greyjoy Victarion cards in your base deck. Yeah, it was all really weird. They fucked it up, basically. But yeah, I don't think they needed the Domineering Pride upgrade. Iron Victory Crew are now stonks. Like, these were already good. I think these guys are absolute stonks now. Yeah. Technically correct, but you have to stack the round triggers beforehand as they're both With Lockerbie, you don't stack them. One of them's not on the board, you can't stack it. Can't use something that's not on the board, so you can't stack Strange Gifts if it's not on the board. Can't stack an ability that's not on the board. Arohotar. Martells. Playable. Very playable. But you have to run Doran, Prince of Dawn, which is weird. So you now have to run, which I don't think you used to have that. So now you have to run Doran in order to run Aereo. You will run Doran. Doran's decent, so I can see this in gameplay. High Hermitage Center with the ambush change with the enhanced ability. This was already good. Very good. I see play. Nymeria, no changes to these abilities, but dropping down to 1 point. I was already considering running Nymeria. Nymeria is a tech piece based on meta. I expect to see Nymeria see play if the meta goes towards more melee attacks, which I suspect it will in the early days. I don't think long term it will go that way, but I do think I would expect to see Nymeria see some play. Would be pretty oppressive against certain types of lists. Abara, 1 point. Is a lot of abilities you get on Abara. Does synergize with the Sundering and Vulnerable. However, Uncontrollable Rage is a bit meh. You don't really give a shit. You don't get anything for it. And yeah, I'm not saying she's bad. I just don't think you'll see play with anything. I mean, you might run this with Dune Vipers maybe now. But I can't. Maybe Dervishes as well. But I can't really see why else you'd do that. Ares Oakheart, decent, fine. Same as the Lannister version. Very playable. Just don't know if you'll see much of this kind of ability get played. And Edric Dane, with the new True Conviction and Dauntless, now means you can just put him in like things that didn't need rerolls, like sand skirmishers, so they don't have to use. They always get rerolls now on the initial attack without having to use their scout openings. Yeah, that might be pretty good. You might run Edric Dane. Sustained Assault change, doesn't matter. June Vipers chewing down to 5 points. Yeah, they lose the Counter Strike, which was like synergistic with the Spear Nets combo. But actually, I think very playable 5-point unit now. I would probably take a unit of these instead of Spearmen. I'm debating whether or not the 3-inch shift on Spearmen might be still good enough to include. But I do think Vipers are playable in these higher activation Martel lists, looking to utilize Gang Up a little bit more. Very, very playable. Yeah. No, Miri, I need to read. After this unit attack with the melee attack, when attacking enemies that have not activated this round, those units may reroll any attack die. That's fine, isn't it? After this unit attack with the melee attack, control swords, he attacks those 2 wounds plus 1 motion destroy rank. Advantage strike. I mean, yeah, sure. There's a bunch of there. But yeah. Cool. We're on to Boltons. Martin says allow skirmishers to use scout openings on another unit. Yep. Always have called my advantageous. Yes. Hits and Crits says, "Hey, love." Hey, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Mickey, what do you think of the quite cheesy 4 skirmishers with Hotart and battle plan with Darkstar Commander? Yeah, I mean, memes. I've not seen it yet, but probably memes. Probably funny. Whatever. I don't really have an opinion on it. I think any spam lists, generally speaking, like any spam lists where people just run one thing a lot, they tend to get beaten because they're not versatile enough to face off against everything, or they end up just being the meta. So people will then because it's really popular, they get hard countered, and when they start getting hard countered, they start to fall apart. I will say this quite heavily. I think Sand Skirmishers are one of the most conclusive single packages in the game. They have everything that they need internally in their deck to make them work. I don't know if that's borne out in the stats, so let's actually have a little look at Sand Skirms. So, yeah, I mean, 11th best unit in the game. Wouldn't surprise me. Single best, like, most versatile package. Raiders, being higher makes sense. Screamers, we know the power that they have. Stormcrow Mercs, Telecavaliers, and Golden Company Crossbowmen. Again, not a surprise overly that these are higher, especially neutrals that can get picked up in multiple lists. But yeah, Sand Skirmishers, one of the most complete skirmishing units in the game. And definitely, strongest Martel unit by a long way, I think. Yeah, Starfall Outriders down at half, less than half ELO. Yeah, so big fan of skirmishers, and I think that they just get better. Skirmishers fall off as soon as you can't supply them with free movements. Anything beyond the second unit is going to be pretty poor. Yeah, but they're still unit efficient. Like, they're still efficient at what they do, and being able to do lots of that can be good. But I do agree with you, Martin. If you can't double down on efficiency of 1 or 2, you tend to have a lot of decent efficiency rather than specifically very good ones. Basically, you run out of resources to make them all work. Bolton Tactics, Bloody Beheadings, Sadistic Games. We've talked about Sadistic Games. It is a better card. Cannot disagree. Bolton players are happy. At least it now works. Bloody Beheadings, though, in Bolton's is probably way better than the Free Folk version. Lots of ways of doubling down on the Bloody Beheadings panic tests. And one of the things I said about the way you resolve this card really matters is because of Spread Fear. Panic an enemy, then they suffer a panic test. However, you would have to say, like, I make them all panicked and then do panic tests on each? Or do I say, I make that unit and it does a panic test? I make that unit panic, and then it does a panic test. I then make that unit panicked and it does a panic test. Or do you make all units panicked and then you go through and say this one now does a panic test, this one now does. The reason being is this combo you can break with Spread Fear. And specifically, if they all become panicked first and then you sequentially do tests, they'll all be panicked for the Spread Fear tests. if you do the tests and the panic token sequentially, they won't be panicked for the spread fear bouncing tests. That does matter, does actually change the power level, because the spread fear tests are actually at a more negative. So they are a better test for your enemy to fail, thus you're more likely wanting to spend the panic token on that test, with the extra wound and with the extra negatives more likely to fail anyway, than you are the base panic test that they'll take from Bloody Beheadings with any modifiers you might want to add. So that's really important. The way Bloody Beheadings resolves actually does change the power level inside Boltons a little bit. That being said, Blackguards, movement 5, yes, baller, talked about that. Don't care about the Flayed Men change. This, really good. Really good to get some free panic tokens at the start of the game. I think this is very important. It gets the ball rolling for the Boltons, and then they can get more order tokens on it to get more ball rolling. It's a bit of a win more mechanic, but it allows you to start. The debate at the moment I'm having with myself is, does this allow you to start, thus becoming consistent, thus allowing you to win more, and all those win more mechanics start to push a bit further and you snowball pretty hard? Or just is this just not important enough because it's only one panic token and it just doesn't matter? I don't know how I feel about it. I think it matters a little bit to get the ball rolling, but is it enough? Brotherhood Assault Orders got changed, and they made Men-at-Arms a little bit better with the ambush change. Fine. That was it. Real winners. Targs. Targs the real winners here. I think that they get the best improvement to the packages and the more versatility in lists. They were also already good. Brotherhood without banners went away with no nerfs. That might be a problem. They were already doing incredibly well. Free Folk, I just can't. The consistency of Rattleshirt might just be off the chains level too good. Too consistent, too powerful. I don't think it's going to break the meta, but I do think it will just become so consistent that it becomes a race to how do you stop it and whether or not you can. Neutrals, I mean, sure, they're their own faction now, but they just don't have anything that other factions don't really have. I think they're going to struggle still. Starks, I do think they've had improvements. I do actually think, Great John got changed, probably for the best. I do think they've got some interesting things in Starks. There's some stuff I'd like to see tried out that isn't Great John. I don't know if they're winners so much as I think people will now expand their horizons with the faction a little bit more, and hopefully that will end up being a winning thing for Starks. But I can understand why people think it got a bit worse. Who else we got? We've got Night's Watch. They got better. Like, I do think Vanguard are good, and I think the attachments are decent. But I just don't know if any of it really makes much of a difference. So I can't really comment on that side of it. Baratheons, there's a lot of change here again. It's going to be hard to really disseminate with just how much this is going to impact the faction. Off the top of my head, I think Stannis just wins a little bit more. There's not, apart from the Thornwatch Sentinel, there's not much in Renly's side that I was super switched on by, except the Courtney change. The rest all felt Stannis-sidey, and yeah, don't know how I feel about the Renly side. And the list archetypes are just going to have to change, I think, because you just don't have the points otherwise. Targs, yeah, I'm worried. I think Targs might be pretty good, and I think they might push an already pretty good faction to very good. Greyjoys, again, I just don't think they didn't get nerfed. I mean, they did technically get nerfed, but they didn't get a negative change in any way, shape, or form, really. So I do think that Greyjoys are still going to be pretty good. So I expect Greyjoys to still do well enough in good players' hands. How did Greyjoys do in the event overall? They didn't have that well. Yeah, they were 54%. So completely mediocre. Completely playable, not too strong, not too weak. Just fine. Good players will master Greyjoys and do really well with them, I think. And continue to do well. Kudos to Mikkel and Leon as well for that. Two very good players, of course. Martells, I think Martells are happy. I think they've got some new toys that they can play around with, especially with the release of the Bowman recently. But there's nothing in there that's super shiny. This is nice, but there's nothing in there like, oh my god. Bolton's, you can't complain if you're a Bolton player. Things did get better. The question at the moment is, did they get better enough? Maybe they did. And if you're a Brotherhood Without Banners player, I mean, you got away with no nerfs at all, and the game is not going to change in a way that's negative for you, apart from a bit more Pathfinder, so you can't just use Beric to troll people with stakes all the time. But that being said, Brotherhood Without Banners are still going to be pretty good, probably. There's some pretty oppressive stuff with Brotherhood Without Banners that people have already built. And we were doing it at the Invitational even. So I fully expect Brotherhood Without Banners to do fine. Quick check on things. So, in my 5-6 games so far, Dreadful Push has been mega. Subtle but huge change. Being start of turn or out of trigger is great. Yeah, exactly, Dan. It is important, and it gets the ball rolling. And I do think that all you need is to get the ball rolling. That's all that matters. They moved Brotherhood Without Ability to the back of all... Yeah, I know. Hexus is just stupid, and it really bugs me, and I hate it. And the fact that we don't know if they get the free attachment for neutrals. In the moment, in War Council, it does give them a free neutral attachment point. That could easily be a bug. All the free heroes is crazy for Starks. Yeah, you get all the dog people. I think going down the high activation route might be one way of doing it. And then Pikes probably benefit a little bit. Yeah. And Starks got way more exciting. Yeah, the thing is, I don't actually think they got better. I think people are now not going to run the same things over and over and over and over again, which was proving not to work very well anyway by the end of the patch in Season 5. All right then, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Kind of an abrupt end, I know. Do check out the stats. You can see here I've got the old version loaded. Cached old version of the site. But it has been updated to Season 6. There are bugs. Bear with the team. It's the first update they've done. They are still trying to work out the kinks and the bugs. They are going to be working on it. They are going to be making it better. If you need to report something, check out on the Hits and Crits Discord on the stats bug reports page. Loads have already been reported, but just make sure if you're going to report a bug, make sure that it's going to be reported, that it's not already been reported. So do actually go through and make sure it's not a repeat. Otherwise, they're just going to be overloaded. That being said, I'm going to have to dash because I've got to go and get some stuff from the shop before my wife finishes work. So thank you very much, guys. I will be back again maybe this week once the site's a bit cleaner and a bit more settled. Either streaming some games or going through some lists for the Maidens. Oh, I've forgotten the name now. The Bear and Maiden Fair event. TTS, the event's just kicking off, which I'm playing in. I'm playing Night's Watch. Mix it up, play the enemy. Chris will be happy that I'm playing Night's Watch because I know that he loves them boys. But yeah, apart from that, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Hopefully next week, but we'll see. Thanks a lot, guys. In a bit.